Controller.
Here.
Throm.
Present.
Barnes. We have a quorum.
All right. The first is the approval of minutes. I gave Cindy just a few typos. Did you get that email? And the only one that had even a word change was on page 4 of 5 of the minutes. And on number 7, I thought on the third line we needed to say they were not city-owned properties, but that's just a FYI. That's the biggest change I had, so. Did anybody have any amendments? All right, I would entertain a motion to approve.
Move to approve the minutes of the September 23rd meeting as amended.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 7-0. The next item is public comments. If you are not on the agenda, you're welcome to come to the podium and speak. Give me your name, your address, and your ward. All right, we'll move along to business and discussion.
Hold it.
Oh, you got to move quick, Karen.
Okay, I came from the back of the room. Good evening, my name is Karen Hughes. I live at 969 Jayhawk Road in Ward 2. I would like to ask that the council give more consideration to the proposed ordinances in tonight's agenda, number 1885 and 1886, before you vote on it. I am particularly concerned about ordinance 1885 that states, I'll read a portion of it if I can. It's 12-706, duty to trim trees, bushes on or near public ways. Number C, letter C reads, any tree or bush located within 35 feet of any intersection or street in the city is declared to be hazardous unless the lowest branch of a tree is trimmed at least 12 feet and the maximum height of a bush does not exceed 30 inches above the top of the curb nearest the tree or bush, unless a member of the Board of Health, 12-20, determines a lower height is necessary to preclude a traffic or safety hazard. This ordinance would potentially affect hundreds of trees and bushes in our town. 35 feet distance from any intersection or street would infect a lot of properties. It would probably even mean that all the new little trees that got planted downtown would be considered dangerous and non-compliant. I am asking that the council maybe reword this or rethink it before you pass it. Because obviously you pass ordinances because you want to be able to enforce them. And this is just not user-friendly. And I would ask that you reconsider it before you vote.
That 35 feet, what amount do you think would be more reasonable?
Well, I don't know, but if you drive along any property, 35 feat is quite a distance.
True.
There's a lot of people, their houses aren't even 35 feet. So it means every tree in front of their house is going to have to be trimmed from 12 feet up.
From the corner.
Well, it says any
doesn't say that,
intersection
though.
or street.
It says from the
That's how it
street.
reads.
Which the inner, okay, but the height of the limb,
I understand.
which is the only thing that's changing in this.
Right, yeah, I understand what your point is, and we're not changing it other than that, but we should look at the whole ordinance.
I'm right. I looked at the ordinance right now, and it's surprising that it's in there.
Yeah.
I realize the height is the only thing you're changing, but 35 feet from any street will affect hundreds and hundreds of trees in this town. And I don't think that as beautiful as a lot of our trees are along our streets, I don't think everybody wants to go along and have to chop off 2 more feet of branches.
Okay.
Is it supposed to be?
Just wanted to bring it to your attention before you
I'm
actually.
sorry, what?
Is it supposed to be 3-5, like 3 to 5 feet?
No, it's 35 feet.
No, it's at 35 in the ordinance.
That's a lot. I mean, just think about it. Go 35 feet in front of your house. That will just about be everybody's tree in the front yard. Will have to be trimmed up to 12 feet. We won't even be able to have evergreens.
And something else on it too, I thought was kind of abstract, is obstructs the light from any street light. Mm-hmm. Well, any tree will somehow, where's the line for that?
That's a good point.
Because if it's 20 feet away, is it 10 feet? What's the cone? How much light has to fall? Because, some people may not want the light shining on their house. They may like the tree obstructing it somewhat, but is it obstructed in every direction? It's a street light, not a yard light. It just seems vague.
Okay.
But we just spent almost $20,000 putting in beautiful new little trees, and they're all non-compliant, actually, technically.
So what did you have on 86? Did you have a problem with 86?
Well, just that 16 feet, I realize that that's, for large vehicles and stuff. I don't object to that one as strongly as this
Okay.
one. This was the one that was really, to me, it jumped out at me that it just wasn't something that people would want to try to adhere to. And you don't want people simply trying to avoid the code. We want people to enforce the code if possible. So maybe you could rethink that.
We will
Or
talk
maybe ask the
further.
tree board to weigh in on it or something. Or ask, I don't
do
know.
have a tree
We do have a tree board for a reason.
Yeah.
And we're a
And
tree,
we probably didn't have a look at this, so.
we're a
Probably
tree
change
city.
Or to
So,
up.
Yeah.
That may be what it is.
so anyway, thank you for your time. That was
Okay,
my thoughts.
thanks.
You bet.
Anyone else? All right, now we move along to item number 1, which is an advisory agreement with Rick Enns. Did you want to share?
Sure. Mayor, Council, Rick Enns with Cooper Malone McLean. For some of you, you may not realize, but I've been the municipal advisor with the city since the late 2000s. And I think this is the actual, I believe, the 5th renewal that we're presenting to you tonight. This agreement is identical in every word and letter as the one that you signed 3 years ago. The only difference is it's been updated for today's date. But the fees, all the wording, it's all the same in terms of the agreement as well as the disclosure letter that we're required to submit with the agreement per the SEC and the MSRB, the Securities Exchange Commission, and the Municipal Securities Regulatory Board. So I'm willing to go through it as much in detail as you might wish, or just give you a glancing blow, or just answer your questions. I'd be happy to respond however you wish.
Well, Bobby and Jason, did you guys happen to talk to did you happen to talk to Raymond James? He was one of the presenters, not him personally, but Raymond James.
No.
Okay, so we just went to conference, and one of the presenters was Raymond James. And we stopped by and talked to him. Darlene was with me. I don't think Diane was with me when I stopped. And I was just asking him in general, do you have your client sign an advisor agreement? And he said no. So why do you require us to sign an advisor agreement? Because he said basically we don't commit our clients to using us each and every time.
Well, we're required to present, whenever we engage in services, we're required to present a contract. And so whether you do it now or you do it later, you're required to sign a contract. And the reason we do it is because we have a working relationship with you, and as things come up, then we're able to just answer your questions. If Austin has a question that he has during the course of a week of working on a budget or some other item that he has the freedom, if you will, to give me a call. And that's the way I've worked with the city administrator, both previously to Austin as well as with Austin. And so we're able to just be an extension of your staff, if you will, to answer questions. And then when something does come up, we're able to respond right away and not have to wait until we are under contract to provide you something.
Yeah, well, so when I was looking at on page 39 and 40, what you presented for,
I'm not familiar with 39 and 40.
I'm sorry, it's the geo bonds that you gave us for the $535,000 for the fire station?
Oh, yes, the debt service schedule?
Okay, so when I looked at that, I asked this gentleman, I said, we have a good credit rating, but we don't have a credit rating, but we have a good financial statement, a strong financial statement. What should we get for a 5-year note right now? And he said 1.5% to 2%.
Yeah, if you're doing an underwriting. You're not doing an underwriting, you're doing a competitive bid. And in a competitive bid situation, the interest rate that you're going to get is something above and beyond the current market rates, because the underwriter that's going to bid on your project has to make a fee. And so in a In a competitive bid situation, the interest rate's always going to be higher than you would have if you had a pure underwriting agreement without a municipal advisor. Let me explain it this way. And I have a number of cities, counties, school districts, rural water districts that I work for across the state. And in most cases, I'm an underwriter to them. And we negotiate the fee, and they engage with our services, and we underwrite the bonds and issue the bonds. We always issue those at par value. Par value means the interest rate and the yield are the same. But in a competitive bid, the underwriters that are doing and placing a competitive bid to the municipal advisor on behalf of the city, they have to make a fee somehow. And their fee is the difference between the interest rate that the client pays, the city pays, and the yield at which they sell those bonds. So the current market rate, yes, is around 1.5%, but that's in a negotiated deal. In a competitive bid situation, you're going to have something higher than that.
Well, you know what, so you have that 18,000 added to our interest expense. And so you showed that we would have to pay $67,000 on this $535,000. And then you additionally showed that we have to pay an additional $26,000 in cost of issuance. So between the interest and the issuance costs, we're going to spend $94,000 to borrow $535,000?
If you'll let me get whatever it is that you're looking at in front of me, what are you referencing?
Isn't this direct coming from him, Austin?
Yeah, you're looking at the Fire Station Geo Bond Series 2020 over 5 years.
Yeah, the debt service schedule?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So you're showing.
Start over now. Okay.
So the cost of issuance, so we're spending $26,000 for you as well as some type of bond counsel, right? For the $26,000?
Yeah, there's financial advisory fees, there's bond counsel fees, there are Secretary of State's origination fees, there's Secretary of State's certificated bond fees, there's the Attorney General's review fee, there's legal publication fees, there's CUSIP fees. CUSIP fees are fees associated with each unique security, just like we have a social security number, each of us. Every security has a unique number. That's a CUSIP fee.
And then on the next page, so you have the $26,000 there, and then on the next page, you bump the interest up $18,000 above the 3.5% to get the $67,000.
What do you mean, the 18,000?
Which page are you on, Paul?
On page 40.
What page is that in terms of my,
It looks
Page
like
2.
this.
page 2?
Yeah.
And mind you, we're not issuing bonds today.
I know, but it
We're
just
issuing
concerns me to think that when I add this interest of $67,000 and I add my issuance cost, I come to $94,000 that I have to pay to borrow, or the city has to pay to borrow $535,000. That seems exorbitant to me. 25% above?
Yeah, you'll see in column 3 on page 2, my page 2, I don't know what page it is in the agenda. This is the debt service schedule. And we're estimating what rates might be in April of 2020, 6 months down the road. The figures here are conservative based upon where rates are today. If we were actually issuing bonds today, I think this rate would be lower, but we're not. Rates can be higher or lower in April. So we had to pick a figure, an interest rate. And so we were a little bit conservative based upon where rates are today for in the future. I'd rather be higher than expected than lower than expected when the time comes to issue bonds. I'd rather you be pleasantly surprised than negatively surprised. So I've used a little bit higher rate, conservative rate. That 3.5% for years 1 through 5 is reflected in interest costs in column 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the interest at 3.5%. I have no control over that number. That's purely a function of the market. And it's purely a function of the market in April when it's the anticipated time that we'll issue these bonds or have a competitive bid for these bonds. So again, this is just an estimate, could be higher or lower, these figures could be higher or lower in April, but today, conservatively, based upon today's rates, this is where I'm giving you an idea of where to start. And that interest cost over 5 years is $67,637.50. In the middle of the page, you'll see the average coupon rate is 3.5%. That's the interest. Now, the $26,550 that you're referencing on page 1 for cost of issuance, that's all of those fees that I rattled off here just a few moments ago. That's the estimated total for all of those fees. And that's $26,550. And that,
Well, wouldn't I be better off, wouldn't the city be better off just to do a note with a bank and not have all those issuance costs for a short?
you're still going to have those costs. You'll still have those costs of issuance.
We wouldn't have the bond council.
Yeah, oh yeah. There's no way you can issue bonds without legal documents.
We can't do a short-term bank loan.
No, you cannot. It's illegal to do a bank loan.
So
The
we,
cash basis law, it states statutorily that cities can issue bonds to incur debt, but they cannot take out a mortgage, a loan. Those are illegal, based upon the cash basis law in Kansas.
we've had short-term loans with banks before.
The local banks were involved in, yes. But,
Yeah.
But it's still, he's probably still went through the same process. Would it be cheaper, the same, or more expensive to do what you were just talking about, the negotiated underwriting, than go to a competitive process?
Well, there have been a number of studies done asking that very question, and it's kind of six one way, half does the other. If you have a negotiated deal, you have an underwriter, and you negotiate the fee, and there's an underwriting fee as a part of issuing the bonds. In a competitive bid, you have a number of underwriters that bid on the project, and a successful bidder will get his fee based upon the difference of the coupon rate, the interest rate of the bonds that you'll pay, versus the yield rate, which is lower, that he's going to sell those bonds to other people. And that difference in those rates is his fee. And so the actual dollar amounts in terms of what you're paying are about the same, because in an underwriting, the first year's interest rate might be 1.5%, so you're paying less interest. In a competitive bid, we're estimating at this point 3.5%. So you're not comparing apples to apples necessarily, but you are comparing apples to apples, because in one case you're paying an underwriting fee over here, and this case over here you're paying a municipal advisor fee and an underwriting fee that deals with the difference between the interest rate and the yield rate. And in the end, that difference to the issuer, i.e. the city, is about the same. So your question is, are you better off going one way or the other? It's, like I said, there's been a number of studies done, and some people will state, in fact, some of my competitors that are not broker-dealers state that you're not getting the best deal if you're not doing a competitive bid. But on the other hand, you can show studies that indicate that you are getting a better deal on an underwriting deal. So there's no right or wrong way.
I don't know, doesn't that sound like a lot of money? $94,000?
The $26,550 represents 5% of the total bond issue size. And that's certainly within guidelines of what the MSRB and the SEC consider to be appropriate fees. And if there's any questions about that, we're examined and audited every year by those regulatory people to make sure that our fees are appropriate.
So if the interest rate is low right now, and we find out mid-January that we get the CDBG, we could issue it right away because the interest rates are lower.
You could. It's always a question of timing. If you don't need the money right away, and that's the reason when I had my conversation with Austin that we were talking about April, is we thought that other monies would be spent first, and therefore delay issuing the bonds so that you're not paying interest on money that you don't need. If you need the money in January, certainly we can issue the bond sooner. If you don't need the money until July, we could postpone that. And every time you consider issuing sooner or later, you want to take a look at the trends in terms of the interest rates. What are they doing? Are they going up or are they coming down? And it's like I tell folks, if I knew what was going to happen with the interest rates, I wouldn't be here. I'd be in Vegas playing the slots. Because it truly is a crapshoot. We don't know what's going to happen with the rates. The rates in the last couple of months have rather dramatically, and that's a relative term compared to what the rates have done the last couple of years, but they dramatically came down here a couple of months ago because of the conflict in Hong Kong, because of the issues between the United States and China on trade tariffs, because of some of the things going on in the Middle East with Iran. And investors went away from equities, went away from the stock market, and they wanted a safe investment. So they came to the United States Treasuries. And when there's demand for Treasuries, that drives the price up and the interest rate down. And that's why we saw in the last couple of months a dramatic increase. Again, it's a relative term, but rather dramatic decrease in rates. And so rates are very low right now compared to where they were about 3 years ago. But what's going to happen 6 months from now, 4 months from now, next week? We don't know.
So the only way we can decrease that cost, you think this is the best deal we can do for the cost of that $535,000?
When you say best deal,
I mean, for our out-of-pocket costs for the since it's costing us $94,000, there's no way to avoid that. There's no way to get a better, that's non-negotiable, the
if you're needing to issue
other than
debt,
the interest rate based on when we issue it.
Yeah, if you're needing to issue debt, then this is a fair and reasonable fee. And as a municipal advisor, we have a fiduciary responsibility to look at your financial interest above and beyond our own. And if you're looking to issue debt, then this is the cost of doing business, if you will.
Yeah.
And again, the rate could be lower, but it could also be higher. You just don't know what's going to happen.
Okay. We're not committing to this anyway right now. We're just looking at this as an example, right?
The debt service schedule?
Yeah, this is just an idea.
Yes, this was provided to you as a courtesy based upon my discussion with Austin, because inevitably, the question always becomes, we need $535,000 in bonds, okay? The question is always asked of me, well, what does that mean? What are we going to have to pay back to issue those bonds? So in my discussions with Austin, I provided him with a debt service schedule, again, based upon an estimated time of issuing the bonds, based upon a conservative interest rate, based upon where rates are at today, trying to project in the future. And so this is, in essence, you're looking at about a $120,000 payment over 5 years. And that, too, was something that Austin and I talked about in terms of a 5-year payback. If you wanted to go longer, if you want to go shorter, those are all options that are available to be looked at.
Yeah.
But again, this is a starting point that you can now start having discussions about and whether or not this is something you want to move forward with or want to modify.
Trying not to spend $94,000 to issue $535,000. Just seems like a lot of money. All right, going back to the municipal agreement, we don't have to have an advisor agreement, or we can have one, or we don't have to decide today. It's just kind of interesting. We've just because we've always had it doesn't mean we need one.
Yeah, you've had one for the last 3 years and have not used it. I mean, there's been nothing that, there's been no bonds issued for the last 3 years. But Austin had the flexibility to contact me if he wanted to. And he has on several occasions for issues that have popped up that he's had questions on or we want to talk about. And it didn't cost you anything either. I'll point that out too. We only get paid if we issue debt. If we don't issue debt, like in the last 3 years, the fee you paid us is zero.
And this is all hinging on the grant also. All of this.
The way
Well,
our-
if we won't have any fees unless we
No,
issue
I'm talking
debt.
about the whole situation hinges on the grant
Yeah.
also.
Yeah, well, ours actually expired. I asked Austin, the one we had previously expired in June, I guess.
Yes.
So in the last 3 years, we haven't issued any debt, so we haven't paid you anything.
That's correct.
Austin, what's your opinion, since if you have to call and ask questions and use it as a resource?
It's been helpful when I've needed it. When specifically we had, what were we looking at to look, for debt, to fund all those streets? We had a pretty good conversation for the budget workshop, and they put together all that information on what it would cost to fund.
5-year program,
Well, when we were talking about doing all streets at
the
once.
5-year long-term plan at once.
Yes. Yeah, so that was helpful. Whenever I call them up, it's really helpful to talk with, and it is convenient. I don't know what a situation would look like if I needed financial advice, and I didn't have somebody there. But again, we haven't used them for debt, so I mean, it's, like I said, I appreciate it when he's there, when I need him.
Yeah, in the situation of the streets last winter, that was in November and December, and I came up and visited, spent a day up here with, not the whole day, but for me it was a whole day committing. But I came up and spent an hour or two with Austin, and we went through, what he specifically was looking for, and I asked a bunch of questions, and he answered them, and took that information back, and then through telephone calls and additional emails, put that plan together, and then came to the workshop, the public workshop, and presented that information.
I just want to clarify in my head, there's no cheaper way to do a debt issuance other than a general obligation bond.
Well, whether you're issuing GO bonds, revenue bonds, or any type of bond, I'm not aware of any bond counsel or the state of Kansas or the Attorney General's office or the newspapers or municipal advisors or broker-dealers being willing to work for no fee or no cost. And so when it comes to issuing bonds, all of us want to get paid a fair salary, if you will, a fair fee in order to serve our clients. And quite honestly, if we're not making money doing the work, it's not any fun doing the work.
My question is though, is that our cheapest method to issue debt?
Well, when you say cheapest,
Least expensive, I don't know. What the 5% we're going to have to incur, basically, is what you're saying. We're going to incur the 5% fee to issue debt. Do I get it?
yeah, the 26,550 represents 5% of the total amount of bonds
Okay.
projected to be issued. And
Just making sure.
And yes, you're
Okay.
going to incur something in that neighborhood,
In about 5%.
regardless of who you might use.
Okay.
That's my opinion. I mean, I'm not aware of any of my competitors working for free or providing services at no cost.
What do you guys want to do? You want an agreement to use him exclusively or not? That's basically what this is doing.
If the time comes that we need them, if everything falls in place the way it should for the firehouse, that's what we need to say. because we don't have a crystal ball to say that grant money's gonna come through. You know, unless Renew, if the CD grant doesn't come through, are we still gonna go marching ahead, or are we gonna try to fund, what are we gonna, how are we gonna try to fund it then?
We're not gonna think about that.
Well, but
We're
it's just kinda the monkey in the room.
Yeah,
Right
well,
now.
I mean, at that point in time, the council will have to decide whether they want to apply for another year, take the CDBG and apply again next year, or to forge ahead, knowing, and then you'd have to find the money for that $600,000.
Well, yeah.
So the key thing is probably reapply the next year. That's my guess, but I don't know, $600,000 is a lot of money trying to make up
Yeah,
without
it is.
any aid outside sources. But that would be a council decision, obviously.
Mayor, the thing on this whole deal that makes me wonder if we really consider that net interest cost for just doing this for 5 years. That's a scary number. $2,439,000.
And what are you looking at?
What, 2 million?
What are you looking at? That's a percent down there.
Oh, and excuse me, I thought that was the number.
Yeah, no,
I
that's.
didn't bring my glasses
Yeah,
tonight.
no. I was like, what is that? You had me a little nervous, like, what did I miss? It's you guys' decision, really.
Well, did I read, I was kind of browsing through it, and I'm not a lawyer by any means, but I think I read in there somewhere that we can terminate the agreement at any time if we give you 30 days notice.
That's
Is that
correct, yeah.
And either party can terminate the agreement.
Sure, yep.
So, yeah, and it's not costing us anything to agree to the agreement at all?
That's correct. We only get paid, and it states right there in the agreement, under our compensation, we only get paid if and when we close a bond deal. If we don't close a bond deal, there's no fee. And for example, the last 3 years, you haven't issued any debt, and so there's been no municipal advisor fee, there's been no invoice from us to you.
Okay.
But yet, I've come up on several occasions,
Yeah.
I've had numerous conversations with Austin.
So in signing,
Still provide a service.
yeah,
but
so in signing this agreement, we
There's
can
no
ask
cost, there's no
questions.
cost to you
There's no
unless
cost.
you issue bonds.
And if we would decide that we wanted to terminate it, we just 30 days notice.
Yep.
Which I would think we could have way more than that as far as a heads up if we were to get a fire station. Or
I'm sorry, I
approved for a
didn't catch the
grant.
last part.
If we were approved for a grant, we're gonna have a lot more than the 30 days head start, I would think, on it to figure that out if we were wanting to terminate the agreement.
Yeah, you're certainly at liberty to terminate it at any time if you wanted to, with 30 days notice. And, you know, the other reason that we like to have, be on retainer is so that we're in on your project at the very, very early stages. So that we're then in a position to provide you with options. I've got one client right now that I'm working with in Northwest Kansas, and they've already determined what type of funding they're going to do, and they determined all these details. They just need somebody to issue it now. And so they called us and want me to assist them with issuing it. Well, it's not necessarily the best way they should have gone, but what they've done is they've done, and you can't go back and change things now. And so I always tell folks, whether you hire me or you hire somebody else, get them involved at the very early stages so that they have an opportunity to share with you all the options that are available to you so that you can then make decisions that are of the best for the city, rather than bringing somebody in like myself at the last minute or middle stages where maybe some options are no longer available to you. But again, call, terminate at any time.
Okay.
Let me get off top dead center. I'll move to approve the municipal advisory agreement and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
Well, we've had a few discussions. Is there any more? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No.
6-2, do I have that right? Okay. 6-2, all right, we will sign it. And I'm excited to see all the options you present to us on this issuance. Bring it on, right? Lots of options, I like options.
Thanks, Rick.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks for coming.
And I'll stick around to help. We have the ordinance on the agenda, correct?
Yeah.
I'll stick around to help with that.
Okay, we are moving right along to ordinance 1885, and that's the one that Karen Hughes brought up. And so the obstruction of the light and then the height away from the street, do we want to send this to the tree board and have them give us an idea?
I think we should send this and 1886 to the tree board, but
And just have them relook at it?
do you want a motion to that effect, or you just want to consider it tabled?
No. Do we have to have a motion to send it to a committee?
I'd just send it to the committee.
Just send it to the committee.
Well, I guess we can say, is it a consensus of council?
Yep.
Everyone? And this Board of Health, I'm not sure why it says that. I know it's in the old ordinance, but I don't know why it says that. And that 1220,
Because that's who I think that's who has the authority to enforce it. One
That
of these,
doesn't make
they come
any
out
sense.
Well, they come out of two places. I was shocked that they didn't say the same thing. They come out of two different places in the book, and they did not have the same height. One said 12, and one said 14 or
But
something.
this
They weren't
Board
the
of
same.
Health doesn't make sense to me why they would have the authority
Because
to decide a traffic hazard.
well, I don't, that's because
So-
it was a health.
So will you have them look at that as well? I
Well,
don't-
it is, because it's a health issue.
We'll have them look
thing,
at
I
it,
think.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead and identify that our questions were this and the obstruction of light. So 18 and 19 were both given, I'm sorry, 85 and 86, right?
Right.
Okay, and we'll have the tree board look at them. All right, that was a good idea. All right, the next item is the lighting. And I did email Austin to make sure I understood, and he said, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, just to clarify this, he said that Landell is paying for the installation and is paying for the electricity.
Yes.
We're just authorizing him to do it on that property.
Are we gonna have a say where they're gonna go on that property?
That's
too
their
far.
location.
That's kind of vague.
Questions. Are they gonna bury electricity, is there electricity on site? Are they gonna have to bury a line there? Is it coming from the hangar? Is it coming from Landall's Shop 30? Are they putting up poles, no poles? Who's gonna be responsible for removing them if the lease ends? I mean, it seems to me it needs fleshed out a little bit.
I think if it was kind of covered in the lease, how they would need to get approval to install things like this.
But I'd like a little bit of say on how it's installed too. If they're overhead wires, then we might want it.
By the airport and
Yeah.
stuff, and the helipad's not that
And
far
the-
away.
and it's right by the cemetery.
And where's the electricity coming from?
Yeah, I mean, just because if they're gonna run it from the existing hangar, it'll have to run across non-leased property. So, and if it has to come from
Their building?
Landall's shop, then it has to go, I assume, overhead, unless they're gonna try to bore under Airport Road.
Do you know if there's any lighting,
Oh,
where the closest traffic
yes.
light is out there?
Yeah, it's right on that corner,
It is on that corner?
Is it on the?
Northwest
Which
corner?
corner is it?
southwest corner.
Southwest.
Southwest, right there is the light?
Yep.
So-
Southwest corner?
Yep.
And I don't know if there are any guy wires or anything. There's no existing poles there, are there?
No.
I should've gone up there tonight.
So we need more information.
We'll have them come
And will
back.
you look at the lease as far, and make sure it's an agreement?
And
Yeah, that's
also-
why I came here, is because I read the lease. It said that needed it needed the city's approval, and this is, yeah.
And to me, if they need to put up some sort of structure to hold the camera or whatever too, that's probably okay, but.
I don't
if
think
the-
they're, I mean, they might be looking at, it's kind of misleading. They never talked to me about a camera. They talked to me about the lighting itself.
It says surveillance.
I know that's why, because they never said camera. They said lighting, so they could light up that yard.
Okay,
And
so-
part of this too is it's just one of those where we might not want it there if the lease is discontinued at some point, so that, it seems like that should be word it out somewhere too.
Right. If it's not, and I'll go
Just-
back over,
yeah,
at least
I-
I'll have
I
them
don't-
come back next time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that'll be it for the next meeting, maybe? You think that can happen?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, moving right along, but we will approve something here. The resolution, 2019-07,
Should we move the hearing to before this? So you're not approving the resolution before the hearing?
that's a really good idea. We're gonna call to order the public hearing for the Community Development Block Grant. Why didn't you put it in that order on the?
Well, because
I'm just kidding, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
You have to
Okay.
move it, Carl.
Yeah.
So, but you, anyway, call to order the public hearing for the Community Development Block Grant. And Emily, do you come forward? And Clint, how does that work?
I guess if you want to ask for comments first, see if there's any public comments, and then,
Public comments about the fire station? Are there any public comments about the fire station in general, or the funding, or anything related to the fire station? Okay. We don't have any public comments.
so now it's however usually, do you want to pass the resolutions during the public hearing or go ahead and close out of the public hearing? I've seen it done both ways.
Did you want to talk about any of the, because we have the community development, I mean, we could incorporate all that stuff, but
You're
I
talking
guess
about-
it's up to you.
You're talking about the actual, this,
Let's see.
are you talking about going over this, or what are you?
Or do you, I mean, this was, Clint's here to talk, if need be, to talk about what's in here, but if the public hearing was just all about the comments, which it makes sense, I guess we could close out of the public hearing and further the conversation like
And
that.
further the comments about this?
Yeah.
Okay, so we shall close the public hearing, and we will continue on talking about the fire station improvements. All right,
Do you want to start by going over the application paperwork to be signed for the actual application, or do you want to talk about the architectural report?
why don't we talk about this first, just so everybody knows about it, and then we'll talk about the resolutions. Is that all right with you, Emily? All right, enlighten us about your work.
Thank you. So again, I have the opportunity to be before you today. My name is Clint Hibbs, architect with BG Consultants. We've been working with representatives from the community, working on the Marysville Fire Improvement Station improvements. What you have before you is basically nearly the final draft of the improvements PAR, which is a preliminary architectural report. What I have with me today is a copy of the final architectural report, as well as a PDF copy. I'll be able to leave these with Austin when I leave today. I just want to bring your attention just a couple of items. These will be very similar to what you have in your packet of information, although some wording will have been clarified just for clarity, if you will, in the report. Picking up pages 2 and 3, just so that you're aware, the main findings that we found, and this may not have come to much surprise, is that we did find that the expanding fire department mission that we have today is very different than it was decades ago, and that the current facilities do not meet adequately those specific needs. The current station is generally not compliant with current safety, health, and building and ADA regulations. Now, that does not mean it wasn't compliant at the time it was constructed. We're tasked to look at present regulations and their applicability and operations with what presently stands. There is also need for requirements under the NFPA 1720 for training and pre-incident planning areas for volunteer fire departments. That's covered within the state of Kansas. The space that you have now doesn't adequately provide space for that, and so we wanted to bring that to your attention. In addition, there needs to be a specific requirement for the effective and efficient organization and deployment of fire equipment. So if you can imagine the adjacent space here, when you think of what is an efficient deployment, that's about being able to respond quickly, immediately, without hesitation, not at risk to the health of others, but to be able to get an apparatus out of the space very quickly without having to slow down by seconds, basically to have to maneuver around spaces. The idea is to provide emergency response that's fast and timely. Additional observations reveal that many building materials, assemblies, and mechanical systems are beyond their typical functional life. All that simply means is that there's a cost of repair and maintenance that we're observing within your facilities. This report will not only identify for you the costs of doing no improvement to your facility, but it will also identify what would be called deferred maintenance. That really would be ideal for the facilities you have today. It also identifies alternative solutions. When we go to the CDBG, one of the things they want to do is know that this body and the city has looked at different options to understand the viability of the best possible means to move forward. In doing that, we've created 3 options. One of those is to do nothing. A do nothing approach to maintain the status quo as it is, but at the same time, we've identified a sustainment and relations cost associated with that. You'll find that in subsequent pages within the report. Particularly what we've identified is that within the next 20 years, if you look at page 8, I believe, in your document, under option 1, no improvements, while that may sound like a feasible option, it really does come with an inherent cost that over the next 20 years, primarily more of that within the next 5 years specifically, we'd anticipate about $450,000 of just sustainment improvements to your facility. That's sustaining it as it is so that it does not continue to deteriorate with its age. Option number 2, we provided an alternative of maintaining your existing space to see what that would look like, and then adding a satellite facility at the same location where we're proposing a new facility in its entirety. We wanted to look at those options to understand what the costs were and to look at that in concept and in perspective. What we identified is that a lot of those development construction costs would be about $1.3 million. And on top of that, we'd identify additional work for renovation improvements to your existing facilities here. Really, what we're looking at over the next 20 years is $1.9 million worth of investment between the building here and that new construction together. We felt like there should be better understanding of the cost and investments over time. So when you look at item number 3 on page 11, really the third option, which is the one that is being presented to the CDBG and for which Emily is preparing an application report, is to simply provide a new central fire station. The intent of this fire station will be one that we anticipate over the next 20 years with the immediate cost of about approximately $1.5 million, with an $86,000 over the life of the next 20 years. What we're anticipating with that is in 20 years from now, you're likely going to want to be anticipating potentially the replacement of like a mechanical system, things of that nature. It may not be required based on the way that the existing facilities are maintained now. If you look at the equipment, the apparatus equipment are kept in really good condition. That same care has extended the useful life of your current facilities, even though there's a substantial cost that would need to be implemented into them to maintain them. At the end of the report, we have simply concluded that successful recognition of this application and award of CDBG funding will enable improved response capability, improved flexibility of resources to address ever-changing conditions of fire risks and associated programs and services, direct and effective response for locating and confining an incident, medical support, fire extinguishment, and search and rescue. These are things that will be enhanced beyond your current service capabilities, and we've advanced and recommended to the CDBG a recommendation for a new facility in the city of Marysville. Do you have any questions for me on this report? One thing to keep in mind is that if there's anything that's identified in here and in the present report that's been prepared in its final form, that we can always make an amendment to the document and update it if there's additional information that comes to light as well.
You guys have questions regarding this report to Clint?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I thought we were going to have some research done about existing places, other places. We were talking last meeting that we were going to come back with some figures to do some comparison with, but I didn't see anything about that in the packet. We talked about doing
Other fire houses?
Yes.
I got one figure from Hanover, and they spent I don't know how large their facility, but they had they spent $550,000 $38,030 on a 6,000 square foot facility, which included, she said it wasn't their city hall, it was just her office space. But that came out to be a $90 per square foot fire station on what they did.
How long ago they did that? Did you ask them that?
They just finished it this spring.
They just finished it.
2019?
Yep.
They use CDBG funding?
I don't,
I can speak to that.
Oh.
They did apply for CDBG funding, but they only put in the minimum amount of match, so they were not awarded. And I think
Were they on that list that I?
they would have, actually, they would have applied in the year before.
Oh, okay.
But I think it's only 4 bays.
It says 6,000 square feet though, and ours is only 9. So,
It might be 5.
So I think it's 5.
5 bays. So they did not get CDBG funding.
They didn't. If they would have put in a full match, they would have been awarded.
Were you involved with that at all, Clint?
In that particular project, no.
And you weren't able to, nobody else would give you the information?
when I tried to get a hold and get some information, people weren't either available or had the information available.
So this is your estimate. Now, Austin mentioned that because we're using CDBG funding, they have to pay higher wages, and I can't remember what you said.
Because it's a federal project, they usually require Davis-Bacon wages, which is, what is that, the average statewide, or?
Yeah, it's a higher value on labor laws that's generally recognized within the construction area, if you will. But the numbers that are in here are an estimate. Some of us, we kind of had a discussion earlier today, I think with one of the previous items, was that when we look to the forward, to the future, we always want to put some allowance in there to understand what costs might be. Our expectation is that there are some conservative values in these numbers, and that during the design process, that these get honed down in a lot more detail, and that on bid day, those are really evaluated out by the competitive bid market, which really brings a lot of value through that CDBG application process.
So you will be doing the bidding for us?
Yes, we work on your behalf to help submit those documents to the bidding process, counsel you when we receive those bids, we review those, we contact those bidders to find out references from them to get additional information, then provide a recommendation. Generally, the lowest bidder, what we call the lowest successful bidder, will be awarded that project. There are rare exceptions where the lowest bidder may not be the best suited, but that's not very common. Most of them will be able to stand behind the bids that they provided and will add all the information and history that's satisfactory to the work. In addition, we will assist not just with the design and the bidding, but we'll also be present during construction throughout that process as administrators to help enable continuity with what's designed with the work that the contractor will be doing to provide counsel in that regard.
So what do you guys think? This is time to decide.
Did we ever look to see what it would cost to put a wood structure up versus a steel building?
This is a great question. We did not compare the costs. What I have found, though, in recent projects, we've been in a number of fire stations, and they're very close in the cost. Generally, when you look at the comparison, the advantage to steel is essentially you'll find that some trades, they can get the cost of the building will be higher, but the erection time will be shorter. And so we've seen somewhat of a comparison cost, almost a wash in cost, many times because of the difference between the material and labor time. But that's an excellent question, and certainly something that is not restricted. I do not believe in a structure of this particular size to have wood construction. Generally, we'd like to keep those bays at 40-foot depths if there's going to be a wood truss system, but they can be extended beyond that without having to have intermediate beams or columns in that regard. It's a great question.
I'd be a little apprehensive of a wood structure in kind of a wind-prone situation, plus, it seems extra appropriate that a fire station be a little more fireproof.
So was the one in
Despite the
Hanover,
equipment
Emily,
being on
was
hand.
it steel or was
It's
it
wood.
wood?
It is wood, isn't it?
Oh,
And that's one of the things, as we'll go through, we'll evaluate the cost, because the CDBG doesn't look at necessarily the materials that's being used for construction. We've done a number of fire stations that have been wood, that have gone through the CDBG process, as well as those that have been steel. That will be something that we will evaluate actually in that cost estimating process when we're doing the design in detail to enable an understanding of what the best cost is in return value. There are some markets that are very opportune, especially for wood construction. We used to be involved in one of the CanStep project, which was a very different nature because the community became involved in actually building on projects, which was pretty exciting. That process is kind of no longer in play. But excellent question.
Because I've seen them do 50-foot trusses on barns with nothing in the middle to support them, so.
Yes.
I mean, the span's there.
What's the lifetime longevity of wood versus steel?
So I actually have a lot of specialization when it comes to assessing the useful life of facilities, so I'm glad that you asked that. At the end of the day, the structure themselves really don't have a differing lifespan. Believe it or not, you might expect a steel would last longer than a wood or a concrete. It's all about how that material is maintained. It's about the enclosing membrane, if you will. So to answer that question, as long as your enclosing membrane being the exterior sheathing, as long as it's weather tight, your structure will really last for a very long time. What doesn't last as long as the timber or the steel, it's those exterior components, all those finish elements. Those are the things that you see that fail on buildings. Eventually, when they fail, they then start to work on what would be called the useful life of integrity of those existing building components. Imagine steel beginning to spall and to rust over time. If it has moisture contact, wood rotting, it's a similar function. Great question. Either way, you'll have a long-lasting facility. If you do a wood construction, for example, we would typically see, and I don't know, I'm not familiar with this other station, but generally we would see metal liner panels on the interior of the walls just to help protect and keep it more durable from areas of impact, things like that. There's minimal amounts of moisture in fire stations. It's not uncommon for apparatus to leak. Our firefighters usually do a great job keeping the equipment to the best quality possible, but every once in a while you'll have a bush truck that might tend to leak regularly. Those things are not going to impact the building. It's really about water infiltration from storm and from other features that'll impact that. So I think there's a lot of flexibility. I think either way, both are viable options.
I'm good.
you're good? You want to make a motion to proceed with the firehouse as planned on this application?
Move to proceed with Marysville Fire Station improvements as the application looks.
As
I
it's
second
presented. Okay. Any further questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0, all right, we will have a fire station. All right.
Austin, would you like me to approach you to hand this to you at this time?
Yeah, I'll take them. Thank you.
So now, Emily, we can talk about the funding? Oh,
Can I
sorry.
ask a question about that? If the grant don't go through, all of this is on hold, right?
Well, that's up to the city to, at that point in time, we'll reconvene in January and say, what are we going to do now? We haven't committed to anything. We just have committed to submit an application.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, truly, you haven't committed to anything. If for some reason you were awarded and something happened and you couldn't move forward, then, you're not, the project can quit at any time, I guess. But what we're doing now is just going through the paperwork that's required by the block grant and Department of Commerce. It just has to be signed and included in the application that's mailed to Department of Commerce. So they just have, since it's state funding coming down from federal, they just have all the typical paperwork they have to sign to get grant dollars. But I'll go through what's in your packet, and if you guys have any questions about any of it, just let me know. And I'm gonna breeze through it pretty quick. I'm not gonna read it to you or anything like that, don't worry. So, but if you have any questions, just stop me and ask me. Yes.
I have a couple of questions here that's on your page 28. To me, that's the fourth line down there, that don't make a bit of sense. The way
What
it's written.
Is that the statement of assurances that you're looking
Pardon?
Determination of level of review.
Okay. Mayor Carla and I talked about this beforehand.
It's gobbledygook. I don't make sense when you try to read it.
Yes, hold on, let me see if
Electri, I don't know what that is, Cal, and,
yeah, that's a typo.
huh?
If you just, the dash that's in there, it's just a typo.
Okay, and then on the next page, there's a double negative right in the middle of the
Yes,
thing.
that's what Carla and I discussed, and I will definitely update that to read more clearly on the second page. It should basically just be stating that, to the best of our knowledge, the new building is not going to increase the amount of surface water flowing into the freshwater pond. But it reads far more confusing than that, so I will definitely update that before the application is submitted.
Well, it'd just be nice if it was written
Yes,
right.
for sure. I completely agree with you.
Okay.
Okay, you want to start with page 21, just go over it, page by page, just say 21 is, or do you want
If
me
you want to
to?
tell me what the top of the page says.
Oh,
then
I'm
she
sorry.
doesn't have the page
You don't
numbers.
have the page number. Okay, so 21 is certifying to apply for the CDBG and shows what we
That
are
is the
going,
resolution, okay.
shows the $938,000 that we're going to pay, contribute, okay?
Yes, yep, so that resolution, exactly like Carla just said, that's just saying that the city has the matching funds in place for
We'll
the
find the
grant.
money. We'll
And
find
they
the,
don't have those forms I cannot edit, so they don't have an option to put in their cash and bonds. It just always reads as cash, but that's with the understanding that part of that money is going to be in bonds or whatever the state decides to move forward with.
and then the next page is Resolution 2008.
Page what?
It's page 22, and it's Resolution 08.
And this resolution is just stating that the city will have the financing in place for years to come to cover the annual operations and maintenance of the new fire station. And that $10,820, that number was provided to me by Clint, and that is based on a very rough cost of utilities, telephone service, insurance, things like that, to come up with that annual cost of operations and maintenance on the fire station. So it's not a number you're held to, it's basically just saying that the city's gonna be able to maintain a new station should it be built.
And then the next few pages is the Statement of Assurances and Certifications.
This document is just a list of state regulations that the Department of Commerce requires the city to follow. Most of them, if not all of them, are likely things that the city already follows just by state law, like civil rights, fair housing, things like that. If you have any specific questions on any of those, I can try to answer them.
And then on page 27, it has to do with Residential Anti-Displacement and Relocation Assistance Plan.
That's a form that has to be in every application. For this specific, it's completely irrelevant because we're not demolishing any occupied housing units. It's just one of those forms that still has to be signed, so.
And then page 28 and 29 is determination of level of review. And
Yes.
like we talked, there's that one sentence,
Yes.
we do not feel the new fire station will not increase pay enough to negatively impact the freshwater pond. She's gonna change that so that it's
Yes,
not
I
all
will
those
fix
negatives
that.
in there.
Yes. And just to explain to you, so as part of this process, you have to either complete an environmental review or an environmental assessment on the project. That's basically just contacting any state or federal agencies that might have that there's an environmental concern of putting up the new building. We do a lot of these preliminarily. There really shouldn't be any concerns at all. Since it's new construction, it just means we have to do an environmental assessment, which is basically just a little bit more paperwork, but otherwise the process is pretty much the same. And that cost, that's something I will do. If you guys are awarded, I can start that process immediately. And once that's cleared and we jump through the necessary hoops to get the environmental assessment cleared by Department of Commerce, they release the grant funds, and then you can start drawing grant funds, and the project can really get started then. Design can start before then, you just can't move any dirt or do anything like that before the environmental assessment is cleared.
And then the next one is our administration agreement with you.
Yes, so I will be administering the grant. That's going to be, I will pretty much do all of the paperwork throughout the entire process. Usually I will just send requests for payment forms to Cindy, or it's sort of however the council wants to move forward. We can talk about that when the time comes, but I pretty much do all the paperwork. If something needs to be signed, I'll communicate that with Cindy, and she'll get it signed and get things back to me. There's lots of quarterly reports, like Austin talked about, with the Davis-Bacon wage rates that are required. I also serve as your labor standards officer, so I'll do wage rate interviews with people working on the site and check all their payrolls to make sure they're paying their employees appropriately, all of that fun paperwork. So that's sort of what my job entails.
Yeah,
there.
so basically she is trying to complete, there's this little schedule on how they fund the CDGB grants, and she's trying to make sure that we meet this criteria so we're above the line to get funded. This is the key thing. Her role, her and Clint's role, their role is to get it funded above the line in the next round of CDBG. So all this paperwork is part of that to make sure we're above the line.
And so, you know, that administrative agreement, that's solely just if the grant's awarded. If you're not awarded, that goes away. We don't, since you guys are one of our member cities for the Planning Commission, we don't charge anything for the actual writing of the application.
So in essence, we pay her and Clint this money to make sure we get the $600,000, basically.
And the grant administration is a ton of work, and by the end of it, they will have a huge binder of paperwork over the schedule of the whole project, and they will have to turn that in and make sure every piece of paper, and it will be audited by the Department of Commerce. So it is a ton of work and worth every penny of it.
Was there a disclosure report in that packet also?
Yes, but it can't print because it has social security numbers, and so we couldn't PDF it in here. I have a copy of it, but
Okay.
it could not come in here. It just kept saying, will not,
Yes.
because it's a
protected document.
it's a protected document from the government. and they wouldn't
Is it
let
something
in.
I have to sign?
Yes.
It is. It was in the packet that I gave you to sign, just so I'll just explain. All that is it's just another overview of the funding for the project, and anytime a new contract is awarded for the project, like when you sign a contract with a contractor, we just add that to the list of people that have a financial investment in the project, and then resubmit that to Department of Commerce, so.
That's this thing. But it wouldn't print because of...
Because of that, okay. All right. You guys have any questions about her duties, responsibilities, why all this paperwork's necessary? We're trying to cross every T and dot every I, Emily, right?
Yes.
Yes. So do you want to go through each one? You want me to make a motion, or do you want to make a motion in total?
Let's do each one separately.
Okay, make it, start it off.
Move to approve form number 2019-07, application submit CDBG grant resolution.
Is there a second?
Second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0, all right.
Resolution 2019-8, assuring funds to maintain fire station.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0.
Statement of assurance and agreements for the CDBG grant.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0, all right. Page 27.
Residential anti-displacement and relocation assistance plans. Move to approve.
Second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0. And
Determination of level of review. Move to approve.
Second it.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0.
City of Marysville CDBG administrative agreement. Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0. And the last one is called disclosure?
Disclosure agreement.
It's just called disclosure agreement?
Yeah, it's just a disclosure report.
That's,
It's just
we have
called
a disclosure
applicant
update.
disclosure report.
Application, a disclosure report.
Is there a second?
Second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0. All right. Now, I guess we should proceed on to this. Do you care about the ordinance 1887?
No, but I did have one more comment to make actually that I wrote down. When you guys were talking about the finances and the added cost of the bond counsel and all of those fees, I wanted to make sure you knew that in the total cost, there's a line item for legal and financial, that's $74,000. That is to cover those costs.
The 74,000 in here?
Yes. So all of those fees that you're paying and everything, all of that does count as part of your local match for the project.
Under the soft
So that's included
cost?
in that total number. Yes.
So legal and financing at the 79,000?
Right? I think that's what that number is talking about.
So the 79,405 is supposed to cover the setup costs, but it's not going to cover the interest, is it? Or is it?
Does that typically include the interest in it?
I don't know that it is, I think it's.
Yeah, I don't.
On page 22?
Right.
Okay.
Look at page 29.
29?
29, we'll have it for the option 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, but you know what? That 6% is based on the 1.2 million, and see, we're not borrowing 1.2 million. Is the 6% based on the 1.2?
It is, yes.
So that is a cushion we have in there.
That's correct.
Yes, that's why that number's higher.
Okay.
It's all based on the full value, not the match.
Right, okay. Well, that's good. We have
So
$50,000
sometimes
cushion in there.
It's nice when that.
Because we have to buy the signal. Yes, thank you for pointing out something positive.
There you go.
Because we do have to buy the signal that's rated as, that's the alternate of 90,000, so maybe we funded the light. So,
There you go.
thank you.
Yes.
All right.
Grab a copy of that paperwork I'll sign to you real quick. Can I take a copy of that paperwork with me?
Of this?
Did you stamp all yours?
I didn't even know I was supposed to be signing it, so no, I've not seen this paperwork. I can.
I
want
can
me
get
to?
it another time.
I can do it.
Because she just needs to attest those.
Yeah, and then seal the 2 resolutions.
Is the door open?
No.
Do you have keys?
You can come, you can get them later.
Yeah, I'll go.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm always out, so.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks,
All
Emily.
right, thank you, Emily. All right, the last thing is the ordinance 1887, and basically, right, Austin, this is saying, should we need to issue bonds, this is our ordinance doing it, so that we know it's in place for the CDGB applications. So it's not that we're actually issuing right now, but we're setting an ordinance up that we could issue them.
Move to approve ordinance 1887.
Second.
Any discussion?
I got a question.
Okay.
Why don't we wait until we get the grant approved before we do this?
They need this in the application.
You what?
They need this in the application. To say that we are committed to funding this.
What happens if we don't get the grant?
then we're not committed to funding it.
Then nothing happens, that's it. If we don't get the grant, we're gonna have to start over square one, right?
Well, this is saying that we will authorize the debt, but if we don't need the debt, we won't authorize it. And it specifically says it's for the firehouse, the public building.
Can we,
Oh, I'm sorry.
no, that's okay.
I'm looking down at my ordinance.
Terry, what this is saying, and this is a requirement, as Austin said, this is a requirement of the CDBG application rules and regulations. The CDBG folks want to know that if you are successful in receiving a grant award, that you then have the authorization in place to provide the other funding. And this ordinance identifies 3 different sources of funding. One is the cash on hand, the $430,000 that the city's committed to provide. One is the $600,000 CDBG fund, and the third is the amount of the bonds that we just previously talked about. So if, for example, you're not successful in receiving funding, then this is no cost to you. So it's an ordinance that's required for the application to prove to the people in Topeka that you're serious, you're willing to issue bonds if they give you a grant, and that's what it's required. I mean, that's what it's for, is because of that requirement.
I understand that, but there's a lot of people watch this on television and everything else. They really would like to know what bottom line is, because we started out talking about maybe getting up around 1.2, now it's 1.600, and is there gonna be another harpoon that comes in? We don't see a bottom line yet.
Well, this identifies a not-to-exceed amount of $1.58 million, this ordinance.
And that will be constant.
And that's all costs. That's design, that's financing, that's construction observation, construction administration, grant writer fees, all inclusive costs we've identified. I say we, it was provided to us to put in here of $1.58 million.
I understand, but it's gonna stay there. It's not a case that all of a sudden King's X, we need another 70 or override here or whatever. And then the people gotta say, you guys were fools to do this.
Well, if it goes above the 1.58 million, it will require an additional ordinance to exceed this amount in this ordinance. And this body would vote on that ordinance. So, I mean, this is committing the city to a maximum of 1.58 million.
That's a ton of money.
I understand your concern, and I'm just trying to communicate that if this is the maximum, but if it does exceed it, you have the ultimate authority to exceed the amount or not exceed it.
But if it exceeds it, so we can't do it because it exceeds it, then everybody's gonna say, we didn't know what we were doing to begin with.
I can't speak for the public.
Well, the thing is that, I mean, we have gone to an extreme measure. I mean, look at this, the detail we've gone to figure out what the amount is gonna be. So I'd say this is extremely detailed, and I think Clint also said that, he erred on the high side, and he'll be happy to see it come in, but I think he always presented the numbers like...
I understand that, Carla.
Well, number one, we're not committing to do this right now. We're just saying we will do it if we get the grant, right?
I understand.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, roll call?
Boss,
Yes.
Pipia,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Hughes,
Yes.
Fry,
Yes.
Schroller,
Yes.
Throm,
Yes.
Barnes.
Yes.
All right. We have already beat to death the bond. Is there anything you want to add, Mr. Enns, on the, go over this? I think we beat this. But I did have a highlight. It was a highlight to know it's already included in this, so it's not in addition to this. That brings me great joy.
I have no further, unless you have questions.
Great joy, great joy. It's already included. All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, so we did that hearing, and we discussed that. So we are done with that. That's just an estimate, and we'll get final numbers once the grant comes about in January, right? We'll deal with that. All right.
We won't get final numbers, because we gotta go through the bid to get final numbers.
Before we figure out how much we're gonna borrow, for sure?
For sure.
Okay. So that's why you put April 1 down there?
That was, I asked Emily what date we should look at, and she thought, between March and May, and kind of split the difference.
Yeah, so if we get the monies in mid-January, then we can do the bid for it, because we got it all documented, it's all ready to go, and then bid it out and have final numbers in March?
It's not ready to go. They actually, this design that they have back there is not full design. It's not, he did not put his full architecture into it.
So okay, let me get this straight. So once we get it in January, then he will do the architecture for this plan?
Yes.
He will take in a construction documents that you can
And then
actually
we bid it.
build from.
And then we bid it from that point?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
He has to do the construction documents in order for the contractors to look at, to bid
So
from.
this is the beginning document? This is just the application document?
That's a design
Yeah.
scheme.
Just the
phase.
application document? All right, moving right along, we're ready for the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second it.
Any discussion?
I have a couple of questions on the revenue and expenses. On Bruce's, we had $960.
Wait, are you on the appropriations ordinance, or are you on the consent agenda? Are you on the consent agenda or the appropriations ordinance?
Right here, under revenue and expenses.
On page 43 and 44?
Yes.
Okay. On page 43 and 44?
Right? Oh, appropriations. Okay, I'm sorry. 52 and 56, I'm sorry.
Okay, so we're doing the consent agenda, that's next. All right, thank you, firemen, for coming. So we have a motion and a second? Yes. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0. Now we have the appropriations ordinance. If I have a motion?
Move to approve appropriation ordinance 3708 in the amount of $337,554.50.
Is there a second?
Second it.
All right. Diane, do you have any questions?
Yes. On Bruce's, we have $960.08 from a door for a 208, I don't know what, 208 vehicle.
2008.
So what's the matter with the door that we had to have replaced?
Hinges broke, and they couldn't get it back on. So they bought a used door from probably a junkyard, and had Bruce's install it. Or Bruce has got it from a junkyard to put it on to the
Was it
vehicle.
damaged? I mean, how do hinges, I've never had a hinge fall off a door.
It's an old police vehicle, so it's had plenty of use to
It's
get
an
it that
old PD?
far. Yeah.
Old
Okay.
PD truck pickup.
Yep.
Okay.
And then Nemaha Motors, we bought a new fob
For the new Dodge pickup that we got.
we only get one key fob now?
Yeah, we needed a spare one for the locker, or for the safe, because we keep all the keys for every vehicle. For the police department, it's in the police department, and for every other vehicle, we keep a spare in the safe. So we needed that spare.
So you only get one key fob now for a new vehicle?
There were two, we wanted three.
Right, this one actually was the third one, and it just, every other one, we had enough keys to put one in the safe. In this one,
What?
just how each,
Why would we need 3?
one for the vehicle, one for the shop, one for the safe.
Why do we need 3 key fobs for a vehicle?
That's, we haven't bought a new vehicle in a long time, so you haven't seen this in a while. So it's, the Dodge came with key fobs. You would have seen keys for the other ones. I don't know why this Dodge came with this type of key and all the other ones had a regular key, but that's just how it was.
So it's it's a keyless.
It's a keyless.
So it's it's a fob, so when you walk up to the car unlocks, and you turn the car on by a push button by having the
We
fob
needed
in
a
the
spare
car.
for the safe. That's why we bought it.
You always have a spare at the water shop?
Yep. That way we're covered in all instances. It's within our spending limits. It's under our policies. And it's for
So
our normal practice.
But all of the new vehicles, we had to have new keys, 3 keys made for
We
them?
have one in the safe for each one of them, yes.
Okay, but this was the only one that we had to have a new key for, an extra key made for.
No, you're seeing it because it's the expensive type of key.
Okay?
And that's probably going to be common from now on.
Yeah. As the new vehicles, but the vehicle we shouldn't need to buy another key for that vehicle for its lifetime. That's the hope anyways.
Okay. And then what did we buy 2 bomber jackets for?
Where's that at?
Red Bed Supply.
For the staff.
What do we need bomber jackets for?
I'm not sure what a bomber jacket is, but it's exactly what it looks like.
So it tends to be a shorter jacket, about waist length with a full longer sleeve. Think of like a World War II bomber pilot. That's what they're named after.
What department was it for?
Water.
Water?
Yeah, the 2 new employees.
Work jackets are called bomber
2 new
jackets.
It's like a warm winter
Yeah.
clipless jacket.
The 2 new employees.
So the other employees, all they have these?
Yeah.
Okay. New
That's
employees.
special.
That's about right.
New employees.
$80 a shirt.
Okay.
That explains why there's 2. Anything else, Diane?
Nope, I think that's it.
Any further discussion? All right, roll call.
Boss,
Yes.
Pipia,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Hughes,
Yes.
Fry,
Yes.
Schroller,
Yes?
Throm,
Yes.
Barnes.
Yes.
8-0.
All right. Austin?
All right, first thing up, we've been asked to extend the sewer main on Keystone to match our ordinance of being within 100 feet of property line. New property owners felt it is legally our responsibility to provide our services rather than them have to make their sewer line come to our main. Currently, the property line is 220 feet from the main, so we would have to run 120 feet to match the city ordinance if that's what was required. Project like this, I kind of estimated, kind of looking at other projects, $3,600 to $7,200 running a 6-inch line that 120 feet.
You can't do it.
It's a shallow one, because it's
That sewer,
Shallow, and then that hill drop.
that hill drops so much there.
down on the other side of it.
Quite a bit.
That's kind of what I
I
figured.
don't think you can set one in there unless you set it off in the parking,
Off in the
off in the
side.
ditch. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that street drops that much from the top of that hill.
Right now, it's in the middle of the street,
Yeah.
and this property is over the hill,
Yeah, it's
going downhill?
Downhill.
the hill.
Yeah.
And how deep is it out there, you think, the sewer line?
Not deep.
Not very deep.
It's not. That's why I didn't. I believe that's why I didn't go any further.
5 feet, maybe 6 at the outside.
I think it was 70 inches down.
Was this with,
Just under 6 feet then.
Yeah.
was this with us doing the work?
No.
With
Now,
contractor
originally,
doing
everything from the top of that hill was supposed to go east and connect into
That other one.
the one that runs down through Keystone.
That we haven't put in.
Yeah. Yeah, that hasn't been put in yet.
That phase is not done out there.
Would this have to be done, I presume, before winter? Would that be the idea?
That'd be the idea. They're trying to get their sewer put in. So, I wanted to bring this, I didn't want to, I was trying to answer their questions and apparently I wasn't giving them.
If land immediately east of them were to be developed, it could not use this line, is that
Right.
correct?
That, I mean.
It's further down.
It's further downhill. That's according to the conversation we're having right now, yes.
So right now, that 220 feet is to get it from their house to that manhole that's at the top of the hill.
From the property, 220 feet is from the property line to the manhole. They'd have to run it
Across their property.
across their property. Which they would already have to do that, and then the 100, if we were within 100 feet, then the 100 feet after that.
So usually when somebody puts their water or sewer line in, they have to pay from the main to their house?
Yes.
Okay.
And the other properties, specifically the one right across the way, ran their force main to the manhole. But that's not saying anything regarding what they've been talking to me about.
So I just wanted to clarify. We are required to do it, via ordinance, if it's with 100 feet, and they are
So
220 feet?
Yeah, they're 220 feet, but what the ordinance is saying is actually, if we bring a main within 100 feet, they're required to, if they have a private sewer, basically disconnect from their private sewer and connect to our main. That is the switch that, once we get close enough, they have to connect. Rather than, so if this property was with 100 feet of the sewer line, there'd be no question, they'd just have to do it.
Well, when they were in here, I thought they were going with laterals when they was standing right here talking to us.
Did they provide you any legal authority that supports that it's the city's responsibility to provide these services?
He was citing, or trying to cite, some state statutes that he found saying that once annexed, the city must provide a plan. And I said, well, we do have a plan of providing sewer. Closer than that, but it's the other side, the east side of their property. And that was the whole plan all along of that lift station. And then I can send you our conversation. He sent me a few ordinances, or statutes, I think. But he seemed relatively steadfast that we should extend our sewer to them.
Well, if we pay for the 120 difference, how much would that be? For the line, just to make up the difference?
I'd have to see their, I think B&W is doing their work. So I'd have to see how much that is.
That's not what you estimated here, the 36 to 72?
No, because all they would be putting in is at most a 2-inch line, at most a 2-inch line, and they'd be...
For sewer?
Because it's a grinder pump.
It's a pump.
It's a pump. Yeah, that's all they would need for the
They run
pump.
on 2-inch pipes?
Forced main, yeah. That at most, yeah. I don't know if it's 2-inch, but that's what I've seen, grinder pumps and,
And so that's what would come all the way down to the sewer?
yes,
The manhole?
yep.
But there's an issue of it not being deep enough, so it might freeze?
No. If we were to, what they're saying, if we were trying to extend our main, it would be probably a 6-inch line. We would, and it can't go that way if the street is going downhill. if they were to run the force main that far, there would be no problems. They'd get it deep enough. Because it would be below enough ground.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
They don't want to pay all the way to the main, is what, basically that 200, that extra feet that they see, they don't want to pay for it.
I honestly think that hill drop's too much. You won't be able to put it.
Till we do the
And
massive
that's
stuff.
That's a good point, yeah.
Till we do the massive addition.
Yes.
There's basically no way to do the force.
And why would you want to drop a, and why would you want to put a small line in down there anyway? You'd want to keep it consistent with what's above it, so everything goes anyway, so.
Right. But the 6-inch reference that I had would be the smallest we would consider, is why I said that.
Okay.
We wouldn't go anything smaller because we can't line anything smaller, and lining is our maintenance.
Right.
It's 6 inch out there now?
No, it's bigger than that, I think.
Oh, Craig, what are we required?
Well, I'd be interested to see what statutes that are being referred to by these property owners, make my own analysis on behalf of the city. I don't see anything in the ordinances that require the city to make this connection, pay for it. Doesn't mean that perhaps there's a statute, my cursory review of that, I did not locate one, so if he thinks he's got them, I'll look at it, but I don't know that I would recommend the city pay for it, or feel as if they have to. So that determination's made.
I don't think you answered my question though. 120 feet, what would that cost? Just give me a ballpark.
I don't know, because it would be cheaper than what I have down here. And he kept throwing out $1,000, $2,000, I think is what he would say, but I think
for
that.
120 feet?
Not 120 feet. It would probably be what he felt like from the property line to the, because we didn't discuss this within 100 feet at all. But if we were going to do that, I would say that was the line that was lined out in our ordinances, but.
Is the restroom working?
No water.
So the two
going?
houses on the north side, they all feed to that manhole as well?
Yeah.
And did they have to go more than 100 feet?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. All right. I just wondered, do you want to research that and tell us if we're obligated to compensate him in any way? Is that all right if we defer to him coming back, our city attorney? Okay, so we shall wait on that. Wait for Mr. Olson. All right.
All right, next one is the water line engineering for next year's project. This is in addition to what we've already done for engineering as far as the water line project we talked about this year and decided not to go through with. This whole complete project.
Well, you know, I asked you earlier today about that, and you thought the yellow plus the red would cost $350,000, but in our budget last year, just for that Jenkins, was $215,000. So.
Right, but what I had in the estimate from the engineer was 158. So that Jenkins, just the three blocks.
158?
And I also took the numbers, because we just did the 9-block project on North Street. Use those to kind of guide me on
So
that.
158, and so that would be, so I'd say at least it's going to be a $450,000 project, don't you think? Because this is equal to this.
Yeah, I mean, but it's a project, like.
Economies of scale.
Economies of scale, yes. Because what we spend on the second phase of North Street, it was like $316,000 or something like that. And that was 9 blocks.
Yeah. 9 blocks?
Yeah, 9 blocks.
So this is 1, 2, 3, 4.
I think it's 11.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's 10. Okay.
Yes.
Kept it at 200,000 the year before. In 2018. That was the nine block. 200,000. Was it in 2018 that we did 9 blocks?
It finished this year, right? Yeah. Well, we did the seeding this year and all that
Seeding
stuff.
this year.
And finalized it. Yes, 2018, we did pay most of it, yes.
Okay, well, I was talking to Cindy, and she did mention, we were talking about the reads on the meters. You know, we have that, we decided to do that 4-year plan. And another option would be to go ahead and finish out all our meters. You know, we have $240,000 of meters for the next 3 years. Are we having trouble reading the old meters or the new meters?
We haven't got to read any new
We haven't
meters
got to
yet
read
because we don't have the software because we don't have any of them in.
Yeah, it's the old meters that we're having problems with. Yeah.
So you're having problems with the old meter? I thought you said you could read the new meters, but you can't read the old?
Well, we can't read the new meters because we don't have the software in place yet, because we don't have enough new meters out there. And the old meters we have trouble with, like, a lot.
Yeah, they're not reading.
They're not reading, so we really, if we could
We
get
don't
the
have the new
meters.
software yet?
No, because they want 50 meters in
They
place.
need 50 meters in place.
But didn't we commit
test
to
it.
50,000?
No. Okay, so this is what's going on.
Okay.
They are waiting for us to install 50 meters. We have the meters on hand. They're waiting. They don't want to come and train us on the new software until we have 50 meters. So in the ground, which they just installed one for City Hall today, which it kind of took them half an hour, 45 minutes to get that one installed.
So how soon do you think you'll have 50 meters up and running?
I'd have to ask how many we've gotten so far, because they're working on it to get it done.
So you have to
and
have
one
50
of the-
meters
and
to
one
make
of
the
these-
software work.
And something later might help it out, but they just want us to get 50 installed before they can come and get the software, and it benefits everybody, including the water department, to get those in as soon as possible, because otherwise we won't be able to read the ones we just installed.
Okay, so that's that's the point.
Yeah.
So this water line, are we having specific problems on this water line?
The water lines that we identify are usually the ones we have the most problems with.
Right.
Yes.
But is there do we need to do that? So the option is to do this water project or to do the rest of the meters in 2020? That's the question. Should we do the water project or should we do the $240,000 of water meters and get them all in? Is that even acceptable to you?
It's not, I mean, it's a matter, I would say, 240,000 plus the labor to put it in, because our guys aren't going to be able to we'd have to hire more people.
Does they have the time to get them all in?
Exactly. We would have to either contract, which there are.
Which we could do
There's
that.
a company out there that will do that.
Yeah, we could do that.
I think that'd be the acceptable way to do that, is contract that out. So you pay for all the meters, get them all installed.
Well, what do you think about that? Do you think meters is more important in 2020 or the water line?
I'd hate to stop replacing water lines. But that's the negative of not doing the water line, but getting the water meters in, I think, would be a great benefit. First in efficiency of our operation, to get the software up and running and in full force, because I don't like the idea of running 2 different softwares at the same time.
Well, maybe we should do the Jenkins project that we already have engineered.
Okay.
And do the water meters, those 2 projects in 2020.
I mean,
and that way you still have a water
one
improvement
and one or the other.
and you get all the meters up and running.
Okay.
What do you guys think?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
But I thought part of the reason too why we were staggering it was so that all the meters weren't the same age.
And that is also
out there
a
in the
negative.
field too, so you didn't
So
have
they
them
don't
all
all
wearing out at the
fail
same
at the
time.
same time.
I
Right.
thought that was part of the reason.
Because
why
we
phased
ordered one set this year, and then, so we could, in 20 years, when the batteries fail, because that's their lifespan, we could replace that first set, and then the next year we replace the next set, and so on and so forth. So yes, that was the benefit of staggering of that whole thing.
So that is more important than the read issues?
That, I mean, to come back in 20 years and go, okay, now we got to contract out this project again, buy all the meters at once and replace them. I mean, that could pose some problems. Or the other option would be in 15 years, we start over and start replacing them 5 years earlier.
Well, or somewhere in between.
Somewhere in between.
But that replacing the meters could find more of our water loss.
Yes. That, I mean, there's, you got it this way and that way.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out if doing this is, after talking to Cindy, if this is really more important than the water meters.
The positive to doing this whole project would be the scale, economy of scale, where you get one contractor in here to do the whole thing. That would be a positive of that. And then, yeah, so I mean, I could see both ways.
What do you prefer? I was just trying to...
Oh, I know. After discussion, I mean, I'm 60% in favor of doing that project right there.
Doing the water lines?
The water lines. Though, I mean, it's, again, you could probably convince me the other way as well.
Well, you know,
It's-
are these constant problems? Are these our constant?
This also, I mean, they are problems. They're next in line for a reason. Also, this helps, I believe this project helps the water supply to the hospital. And that a part of this project is installing a valve to never cut off the hospital.
Well, that's
Which
part of the
could-
Jenkins one, right?
Yes, yes.
So we could do that one plus the meters. Anyway.
Yeah.
You feel...
I would, I mean, I would feel fine doing one of both, so Jenkins and then, and as long as we were doing the rest at some point, obviously, since we already have it designed, we can get it bid right away, and then doing all the water meters. But I don't like the negative of in 20 years where we're gonna have to replace them all at once. So I mean, it's and the price of meters aren't exactly going down. But so 20 years from now, what's that gonna say to?
But in 20 years, there might be completely new.
You might do it by
different
drone.
Technology.
Well, in 20 years, we'll probably have, and probably in the next 5 to 7 years, I'd probably convince you guys to install an antenna somewhere, but, yeah, which would be a great benefit, which these water meters would support, so it's, yeah.
So it's a little bit future-proofed.
Yes, it is. In fact, that was one of their selling points, is that they've used the same, they could backward engineer their oldest meter to be read right now off of this software.
I'll tell you what, I sprung this on you.
Okay.
You want to think about it and come back next meeting and tell us what you prefer and why? Is that a deal?
Okay, I will
You
pass
have
this.
options.
I will pass this by our staff and see what they
They
want to do.
recommend?
Yes.
All right,
'Cause this
you
is-
bring
yeah,
us,
this-
you bring it to us.
Okay.
Sorry.
Consider
So next meeting.
options. Okay.
All right.
All right. Next one is Art Center windows. I provided all the bids that we received. Two of them, one was from Gomez, one was from Hometown, and the other one was from an independent contractor who sells these Sierra windows. Sierra Pacific Windows, and I was trying to find his card. His company is not Sierra Pacific, but they are based out of Frankfurt. So they, and the guys on our, on the Lee Dam Art Center board. So that's where this came about.
So, okay, my apologies, I wasn't at the last meeting.
Go for it.
I think this was discussed a little. Is it purely for efficiency reasons?
Yes. Yeah, and well, the windows are not new. I mean, they're...
They original?
Yeah. Yes. They're original.
So, well, no, up above.
Those are the up above that got covered up.
I've worked for contractors and talked to enough contractors over time, and a lot of the people I know who work on older structures seem to think that a refurbished older window is as good as a new window. My thought on this is only one of these is wood, so it's not really an apples to apples comparison.
Right, and
I've been, the casings themselves, the windows, I was at the Art Center this weekend, don't appear shot for the most part. They look like good candidates for getting repaired and refurbished rather than replaced.
Okay.
But if replacing is the angle, I don't think a vinyl is a great idea. I don't know, I mean, I'm sure technology's great, but if you look at a 10 or 20-year-old vinyl window, a lot of them aren't that great. Those wooden windows are, what, 80 years old, 100 years old?
So when you say that you could
Quality lasts.
refurbish them, what would we do?
They usually, I think they do is they pull them out of the sash, refinish them, reseal up, kind of shim as needed. I don't know if, are these weighted, I presume?
Yes.
We will redo the ropes and the weights. And basically, if you seal them up and you do all the work around the casement and the framing, yeah, you'll still only have one pane. There's nothing to go around that, but, I mean, you can make them seal up pretty darn well as a single pane window ever will. With, I think, probably less expense, maybe not, but again, I mean, if you slam in some vinyl ones, somebody will be replacing vinyl ones in 20 years. I think you do that every 20 years, or you do repair the originals or replace them with clad wooden ones, and you've got more of a lifetime solution. I think it'll save money in the end for a little bit now. And this is nothing against the local business thing, I get that too. But I just don't feel like, I'd like to see what Chromies and Hometown could do for wood windows, or I'd like to see what it would look like to have them redone. I mean, I may be alone in this, but I'm of a, it's only original once persuasion, and sometimes
I
quality's
thought you were
better.
going to go with the settling of such an old building that everything wouldn't be square.
Well, I
That
don't
was
know
what
how
I
well
was.
they open and close. When I was there this weekend, I didn't try that. I was there for the art exhibit. I kind of took the opportunity to give them a good look.
Okay.
And they aren't as bad a shape as I actually would have even thought.
What's your thoughts
to
on that
appearance.
comment?
I could see that perspective. I mean, that's, I was going for purely efficient and the efficiency of pulling them out, which I've confirmed that it's easy to pull them out and put these back in. And it's...
So you're saying the swap of a wood to vinyl,
Actually,
you
I think
can't
it's
justify?
it's less
Longevity.
efficient in that you're going to be throwing out these windows and replacing them. I just don't think a vinyl, I mean, there's good vinyl windows, but they aren't a long-term solution, I don't think.
Okay.
Well, this building is a long-term solution.
I'd like to think that'll still be an art center in 50 years.
So what do you want to do with
We'll
that?
Whatever you guys want to do, it's fine. I mean,
You have any
I
idea
see
how
if
much
they
it would
have-
cost to refurbish them?
I don't. In fact, that wasn't an option I looked into.
Can Hometown and Chromie supply a clad wood window?
I can look into it.
I bet they can, at least
The-
one of
the
them. I'd be
one-
surprised if they couldn't.
I'll bet you could probably come up with clad window double paned.
Probably. I mean, you could get your efficiency, but keep the
Keep the
appearance and the
appearance,
longevity.
yeah.
Kind of have your cake and eat it too.
Okay.
I think.
Not a fan of
on an
vinyl
old
windows?
building, I think the vinyl window's a
it's the
short-term
building.
solution.
It's, yeah.
It's the building.
Yeah,
I
that-
understand his point.
But having lived in an older home, I just,
You'll get energy efficiency, but at what cost?
yeah.
And the wood's just as efficient as a vinyl
Yeah,
is.
oh yeah.
So you want to come back with something?
More options. More options.
More options.
Sorry.
Come
More,
back.
thanks, Todd. Okay. No, that's fine.
Come back.
We want to be happy with what we do, so that's completely fine. All right.
Maybe we'll bid on the next one.
All right, the next One is our ADA ramp project, which we scheduled out into May of next year to get more interest. So we got 3 people interested, Inline, Brian, and AHRS. And I talked to AHRS about their bid, and he felt that he missed a calculation. So it's not that they didn't want to do it, it's that they miscalculated. So AHRS came in at $70,000. Brian came in at $45,512. And notably, they did not include seating, which is important. We want them to seed, in which I think that was actually in the plans. And then Inline came in with a bid of $46,645, in which they did include seating. Regardless, the 2 low bidders, Bryant and Inline. Inline is considered a local bidder. Bryant is not. So according to our policy, they fall within our range, our 10%. So if the technical low bidder in this case would be Inline, with $46,645.
What was the predicted cost?
51.
That's what we budgeted, right?
That's what we budgeted.
I move to approve Inline Construction's bid of $46,645 for the ADA ramps.
Is there a second? Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We got a bid. One off your list.
All right, well, this next one hopefully should be easy. The Kansas Department of Agriculture representative approached me about some stream bank stabilization. And they did this because they noticed that GP was doing what they had talked to us about down by them. And down by the rail. So they wanted to extend that stabilization up north into our property along the stream there. The project, he said, they would 100% fund. All they would need is access to our land, which GP said they would leave that road they created. And the only thing they said we would have to pay for would be the permit, because apparently a state statute says the state can't pay for the permit, we would have to do that. Which they said $560 per site would be all the cost. And so they just needed your guys' approval to get onto our land and do the stream bank stabilization.
Per site, how many sites?
I think this is just one site, because they're gonna access that and just do right there.
On the curve.
Yeah, that curve.
Did you guys look at that website? I went and looked at it. It was pretty exciting. The Kansas Department of Ag is investing almost $2 million. There are 3 priority watersheds of the Big Blue, Little Blue that affect Tuttle Creek, the Delaware River, and the Cottonwood and Neosho River. So it seems like a major project that they're undertaking. And, the reason for doing it is to decrease sediment and pollutants.
Yeah.
And they have 272 erosion sites identified and 93 completed. So $560, they'll do all the work. I think that's a win-win.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it is it's a very interesting project if you guys want to look at that website. I would entertain a motion for the 560.
Move to approve the 560 for the stream bank stabilization.
Second it.
Is there any further discussion?
I would, rather than do the 560, they really just wanted access. They need approval to access our land, is what they were wanting.
One thing we cannot pay for is the permit.
Yeah, we could.
Is the 560 plus right to access, is that what you want?
Yeah, the right to access, yeah.
550 plus the right to access.
There you go.
I'll second that.
Okay, anything else? Okay, any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 8-0, all right.
Next one is actually, before I talk about that, I put this, so I'm still on projects. I put something out on your desk talking about water loss. this little job proposal of boring some service lines would help with that. This helps getting some new meter pits as well as replaces some leaking water lines. So these, at least one of these 2-inch bores basically replaces a main and gets 3 water meters on it. And then these other 2, or the 1-inch gets new water lines. I believe a lot of these had leaking problems.
Now, where are this at? Where's this at?
I got, most of these are around the elementary school.
Catholic school.
The Catholic school.
The Catholic school.
Yeah.
Down that alley by Winnie Neefeld and in there, that was a terrible mess.
Yeah.
Catholic school. And and are these, we're putting water lines on our mains that weren't existing before, or what, tell me what we're doing?
The 2-inch, I believe the 220 feet 2-inch one is going to replace a main that supplies 3 houses. And that main has been leaking.
Comes from the wrong way now to make with a valve, isn't it?
Yeah.
That they need it to come from the other way because that one house is down the alley and they've been asking.
And then the other 2-inch bore actually helps move our water meter across the road for Lakeview Ball Complex.
Oh,
yeah,
that could be.
Yep. Also, that is also a preparation for the fire station.
So Lakeview is ours.
Yep.
And this one, you're saying, instead of having a main, these 3 houses feed off one?
They do.
Do we need to fix that now?
This will.
This will, yeah, this would
That's
would
220
fix it.
feet, well, everybody will have an individual line?
No, what?
Yeah, they'll get pits.
They'll get new pits,
Yes,
yes.
they'll each have pits now, instead of feeding off the same line
Yes.
that we couldn't get to them.
Yep. Because they each had their own inside the house, meters inside the house, yeah.
Do we usually pay for that when they take them out of the house and put them?
No, they pay for the pits. They've already paid for the pits. So this is this has already been offset by their payments for the pits.
And then those other, the 1-inch service lines, tell me what those are?
Those are to get
4 houses?
1, 2, 3, yeah, 4 houses. And that helps around the Catholic school and some of the leaking lines there.
But these are normally already, I just want to make sure, because we always say the service line is not.
It's called a service line because it's such a small line.
But it's still our responsibility.
Yes, it's still our responsibility.
It's like our main area.
Yes.
It's ours, so
Yep.
we're not showing any kind of favoritism by putting service lines.
It's not from the pit to the house. It's from it's from the street to
where we could put in the pit.
To the pit. Yeah, that's our responsibility.
I haven't ever seen this name before.
They were the Deep Creek. They changed names.
Oh.
Yeah.
And he only got 1 bid?
Yeah, these are the guys that could show up next week.
Are you guys okay with that there's only 1 bid for this?
It falls under our policy.
They did a good job as Deep Creek.
And
We
the
like these guys.
$12 and $14 is a good price per linear foot.
And it's something we need to do ASAP, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Did we just discover these water line leaks?
These are some that we've had problems with in the past, and I think we've fixed a few leaks recently that's kind of drove this discussion. And then
Because I
we added
don't
on.
remember us discussing this before, so I.
Right. And then we added the Lakeview on. They started trying to look at where the water line, because it goes right through where we want to build the fire station. So they wanted to move that line over. Well, this was a part of that discussion, to move Lakeview to a better spot.
To come out of the water revenue fund?
Yes, and all of this
Water
boring,
revenue or water reserve fund, I'm sorry.
let's do water, let me look at that.
We have 180 days, I think, in there.
Water
revenue.
water reserve, since we didn't,
Reserve?
yeah,
So we need a new water line this year.
yep.
Okay, how do you guys feel about this? If you're okay with it, you can make a motion.
Make a motion to approve the bid from Street Plumbing, Heating and Electric in the amount of $8,880.
Water revenue.
Coming out of the
Coming
water
out of
reserve
water
fund?
revenue.
Water reserve.
Water reserve fund?
Or water reserve.
Water reserve, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 7-0, all right.
All right, let me pull back my analysis. All right, next one is financials and project costs. Our general fund is still sitting relatively high. Let's see, where you at? General fund is still looking good, and I'm projecting we increase our balance from the end of 2018, as long as revenues look like they are and expenditures don't, how did I estimate that? As long as no really large expenditures come about. The water fund is catching up with last year's balance as of the end of September. With no water line project this year, the balance should continue to improve. After paying for the lining of our sewers, the sewer fund has gone down and is about $130,000 lower than the previous year. Following the CIPP, following the payment of CIPP, we should be seeing sewer fund increase. And the sewer fund is back to increasing, but just a little at a time. And I'm hoping that continues to increase as we keep going, with, I don't think, any larger expenditures coming out.
Do you want to talk about the cost share application real quick?
Okay. Cost share application, me and Tony Deaver worked together. I'll give a lot of credit to Tony because he did quite a bit of work doing the estimating and some of the and the wordsmithing and all that stuff. And to do, so basically what he put together was the what we had discussed, the U, including south of Keystone to the Keystone Addition, both drives, and up to where we would have concrete for Hometown, which would be included in an access management project. All asphalt from concrete to concrete up there. He also included some pipes underneath for stormwater. I think there were 4 pipes, and then base work and asphalt. And I forgot to ask him how thick the asphalt was, but he did his asphalt work based off of an estimate on traffic. And the whole project came out to be, what did I say?
2.6.
$2.6 million. And that, the cost share part of it only covers the construction. They don't cover the engineering. So we pay 25% of the construction cost plus the engineering. So the 25% was a little over 500,000 plus the engineering, which was estimated about 300,000. So 880,000 is what our share would be if we were approved by this cost share program. Tony did put a pretty fast project timeline in, saying that we would get a designer by next month and go from there. But I think, I'm not sure how KDOT will put a timeline together, because whatever the project says, usually KDOT says, well, this is how you're approved, but this is what we want you to work off of. So a completion date of next year was put in there, and Carla had made the comment that KDOT did want to spend this money fast, so it probably did make sense. But still, I've seen other projects such as our 7th and Broadway, where it's just that little part. They give you so much time to design it and put it together, and we're not bidding. That's set to bid now in March. So it's kind of a challenge to see how they can move any faster than that. We do have $200,000 in sales tax specifically for Keystone 11th Road and 12th Road project. And since you...
And if we get the CDBG for the firehouse, then we can apply for another CDBG to offset the
To offset
880.
some of the costs, yes. There are some other avenues. The people from Washington, the DC, what is that?
NCRP?
No, they came for the K-State project. The people from Washington DC who helped find funding for projects said they had some ideas as well that would help offset a project like this, or if we didn't get this grant, we could find something else. But at least we had this put together, and if you don't apply, you don't get the money. So the application was due on the 11th, and we kind of were pushing that. So do you have any questions on that?
The other thing is the TA project, can we apply for that anytime? Is it throughout the year? Or
When
is there a specific
they
call date?
ask, they put out a request. So we're applying for a TA, TA project in front of Cromie's.
Right. Can we go ahead and put the TA project for 12th Street to that entrance? I'm sorry, access management. I'm sorry.
Right.
Access management plan, is that throughout the year?
Yeah, we can do that throughout the year.
You know, maybe we should go ahead and get that on and make the
Well,
application.
you've already told Tony to put that together. So yeah, we're gonna
For
work
12th
on
Road?
it. Yes.
And get it done?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's not called a TA, it's KDOT Access Management. Okay.
Access management.
So go ahead and get that.
Yep.
I mean, that's also something we could do just independently
Right.
if we get the money for
Yeah,
that.
it makes a lot of sense.
It'd be nice to get that intersection done.
Yep.
It's pretty rutted out there.
Yep.
Okay. And I guess lastly, we'll talk about that at Craig's time. Okay, anything else for Austin? Okay, standing reports, street,
I see we got salt in the shed. Is that all we're getting?
That was 6, I think we got all 6 loads.
Got 6 loads in there?
Yeah, we ordered 6 loads.
Big shed.
When he put the first load in there, he's like, he goes, I didn't know it was gonna be that small. Like not the shed, but the pile that's in there. Yeah, we ordered 6 loads. We've had to wait, our guys have had to wait in line, not our guys, but the guys we contract.
Right, hauling it.
Yeah, hauling it, have had to wait in line for 4 hours to get salt already.
do we have salt in the old shed still?
Yes, we still have salt in the old shed.
Okay. Anything else on the street? Water, wastewater, talked to the guy from Midlands at the conference. And he said they gave us a really good bid not this year, but the year before. And I said, why didn't you bid? And he goes, because you guys go out for bid too late. Because people are bidding their CIPP for 2020 now. So,
And no, we've been trying to get it out earlier and earlier.
okay,
Yes.
can we work on it now?
Yep,
Because they didn't give it, remember their price was like a third cheaper than everybody
but
else.
that's because they had Seneca. They were doing
I know,
all
but
of
you know what
Seneca.
else? They said they were gonna do a whole bunch of work like in Riley County. So they want to piggyback on that.
Right.
So if we can get that done and get a good price.
Yeah, they said they were really interested,
Yeah, because
really interested
I know, and they
in
said,
being able to bid it.
can you get it to us as soon as possible? I said, I'll talk to Austin.
Yep.
Okay, so work on that. Anybody else have water, wastewater? Parks and Rec, I told Austin that Brian Frogel told me that he had not been contacted by Schwab and Eaton.
And I asked him the last time you asked me if they were going to contact him, and they said yes.
Yeah, so I just am really disappointed that they're not moving on that.
They said they were they wanted to get some details lined up before they contacted him, so they said they were planning on it.
But he's kind of the expert on the water drainage issue, so it seems like, anyway,
Yeah, I don't know what they're working on specifically that they're waiting to contact him, but that's what they gave me as a reason.
And I was very sad to read in the info packet about Marysville Sport and Rec.
Yeah.
So I know, I'm very glad they gave us 15 months, but it's going to be very difficult to replace them.
Yes.
So we need to find some young families who wants to jump on board, but, that was a huge commitment for those people, and it's ran so effortlessly. I've been on council for 6.5 years, and our rec program has always been exceptional, so it's really sad. And I asked him, I said, this has nothing to do with us not fixing these fields that were there, and he said, no, absolutely not. So.
We did have a meeting with him, Jason and I met with them, and I know one of the comments that they made was that they also said that Brian hadn't been contacted by Schwab Eaton. And they talked about the water leak up at Feldhausen Field, but Brian did text me today that the water department got a hold of him, and they're gonna try and get that fixed. And one of their concerns is they've been having a lot of people asking them about the shade structures, so they wanted us to make a point that they do still have the money that was donated. We just haven't put it in place because we are doing this
Well, Marysville Community Foundation has the money in our name.
Yes,
and
for
we
the
haven't
shade
pulled
structures,
it
we just haven't put them in and spent that money
until
because
we
we're
get
trying
those
to do
drainage
the drainage issues resolved.
So we just need to say that in open session for everybody to recognize. Okay.
And then they are concerned about the snow piles being placed up at Lakeview.
So do we have an alternative place for the snow piles?
That's the best spot. I mean, it's flat area, accessible. I mean, we still have out on 7th Street, since we didn't put a water shop there, but
Did they say that it directly affected the fields?
Yes. Because he said
Even though there's drainage, because I remember bringing it up last year, and there's drainage up there, there's grates, but they said it's just swampy. You can
He said since it's sitting on the limestone, it soaks down in and it just bubbles up in the fields, even if you have the drainage you want to lay it.
If you ask a previous administrator of the ballparks, he said it's always been that way. Even before they put water up there. It's just, it always is wet.
It does kind of seem counterintuitive to place extra snow in an area that we are doing
storm drainage
issues on, though.
Yeah. Well, we can aim for more of 7th Street for now. And especially after we get our storm drainage corrected, we don't, and our fields, I don't think we want to put, so maybe we need to search for areas to put it, alternative source places. Was there anything else they brought to our attention?
They just gave us some other ideas to look at for grants. Major League Baseball provides grants for fields and stuff, so that might be something to look into. Scott's Fertilizer is another one that provides grants for different ballpark rec facilities. And the Kansas Health Association, especially if we're talking about putting in a walking path trail. So.
Did you look up, try to find information on any of those?
I haven't had a chance, but no. Those were just some of them that he...
To see what kind of money we're talking about and what kind of projects they're working on. Do you think you can research those for us, Austin?
I can try.
See what kind of monies we're talking about that are available.
And also, as of we met Wednesday night? Tuesday night? What night was that? I can't remember.
What day that was?
Tuesday. It was Tuesday night. There was water still standing on the fields in areas from the previous rains.
That you could see? Did you go walk it?
I didn't walk it. Brian said that there was, that he couldn't mow.
I believe it.
I don't know, there was some areas that he couldn't mow because the water was still standing on the field and from the previous rains, so.
Waiting on Schwab.
So
That's our next step, Schwab.
he still has, and he has photos of that area, of those areas too.
Good. We want Schwab.
He was frustrated that Schwab Eaton hadn't contacted him.
Okay.
Mayor, I might mention, Carla and I talked with a gentleman from a company who said that he can use this, some kind of a foam application underneath the tennis courts to stabilize them.
So this was like, we were sitting there staring at the foam guy, his Midwest Foam, I think it was. Have you ever heard of such a thing?
It sounds like concrete checking.
Well, it is like concrete checking.
Yeah. But
it would get us separate from the moisture under the courts. He said all he needed.
But
What? He said he only needed.
Snake oil.
He said he said he only needed a dime diameter to fill it in. And so I was sitting there looking at these foam works and said, surely we could use this product. And then all of a sudden Darlene thought of the tennis courts.
the problem I could see with that is that you're not jacking up concrete, you're jacking up asphalt. Asphalt's more flexible. It's going to jack up that one point like that, and you're going to create problems. I can already see that. Unless
he said he'd come talk to us.
I mean, that's fine, but if he was putting it under a concrete slab, I could see it. But asphalt is rubber. I mean, pretty much. It's made to flex, and if he will see what he can say about it,
I mean,
I could see that's going to be a possible problem.
I know.
Yeah.
And they have done projects in Manhattan, so they're.
So did he say he'd done tennis courts when you suggested it?
I don't think he mentioned
I thought, wow, if that would work to separate the moisture from the, it would be great if it would work. But he could come, share what he thought. He could come look at our tennis courts.
If it creates a nice
flat,
well, drainage point for underneath for where the water comes from.
Well, I'm thinking if he separates it from the water. Okay, anyway, that was our big, when Darlene thought of that, I thought it was a great idea, if it works. It's a great idea if it works. Okay, anybody else have Parks and Rec? Cemetery and Airport? Police and Fire? Admin and Finance? All right, no appointments. City Attorney, would you like to just comment about having a public hearing with Mr. Murphy?
Well, the city sent out a letter regarding some property where there's some sewage coming up into the street, is my understanding, and there was a written letter response from, I guess, the lawyer of the recipient of the letter?
He is the lawyer.
He is the lawyer. Well, but it said that he was writing on behalf of his children. Is that correct?
His child and his wife is a property owner.
Regardless, an authorized representative and requested a hearing, so I think the city should grant the hearing.
That's fine. He had already resolved the issues by that time.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, then I think it's moot.
Right. And
so you want to confirm that? Or you want to get that in writing then? Because on October 4th, he sent a letter sort of requesting a hearing.
Yeah, he sent that after they had already fixed the leak.
But do we have a letter from him that says, I no longer request a hearing?
No, he wants a hearing. He wants to come before us.
But we have to do it.
The hearing.
Not if the issue's moved.
If the issue's
resolved, he's not being, or his client, or whoever he's representing is not being accused of any sort of ordinance violation. There's no need for the hearing.
If it's fixed, it's fixed.
Will you write a response to him?
Be happy to.
Okay.
Yeah, it was.
Lawyer to lawyer.
Okay.
Okay.
No, it was, they had solved the issue. It took them weeks to do it. We had contacted him, or Cindy had contacted him, and he said he just wanted to explain what the Homestead Act was.
He wants to come to tell you what the Homestead Act is, because if you look on here, he's saying that the people that administer the rules here, us, not us, you, don't understand what that is, and you're in violation of the way our rules are being done. That's what his letter, in a nutshell, that's what he was telling me his letter was saying. And I just said, okay, and
I
that's
believe
why.
this individual's brought this issue to the council before.
Yep.
Right, yes.
But my
yes.
point is it's moot.
Will you write him a response and see what he says? If he still comes back and says he wants a hearing?
Or he
I mean,
can,
he's got a public comment section.
He could make a
come
public
to anytime he
comment.
wants.
yeah.
But at this point in time, all we have is a letter saying he requests a hearing, so even if it's moot.
He told me that he would like to be on the agenda, not in public comments, that he would like to be able to explain to you what the Homestead Act is about, because he thought that we were administering our laws wrong.
And he wanted to wait until the next
Until
council
you
meeting,
could
not
read
this one.
that, yes, he
Yeah.
wanted you to read the information first.
Okay.
Before he came.
Are we in violation of this Homestead Act?
Well, no, I don't believe that enforcing nuisance ordinances is in violation of the Homestead Act. I mean, I'm happy to review it further. I don't believe he had this litany of case law cited the last time. I think that may be new.
If that were the case, there have been a whole lot of that coming up before now in the
Presumably.
some odd years.
Yeah, but, I mean, I guess the question is, if he's asking to be on the business and discussion items, is he taking the steps, is he qualified, I mean, or is it public comment?
I guess in your letter, I'd probably say that's an option, that he can come and address in public comments. I mean, is that,
Be happy to do that.
Okay. Give him that choice. Okay, anything else, Mr. Olson?
Oh, no.
All right, roundtable. That info packet, 17 homes, that's a win-win. That is a great news. And that Pepsi fundraiser, I think it sounds really great, and I'd like to help, so it's next you know anything about it? It's next Sunday, isn't it? It's a Sunday, right? What did I do?
Yeah.
Sunday, yes.
It's a Sunday.
It's a Sunday.
It's this Sunday. So if anybody else wants to work on it, then we'll try to think of a clever game, and we have to time it and everything. October 27th. It's not this weekend, it's next weekend.
Yes, yep.
So let Cindy know who else is interested in doing it on the 27th, and we'll get an activity, okay? And info packet, Pepsi fundraiser. And the last thing is the newsletter's about ready to go out, and I wanted to know if you guys had any ideas or if you wanted to write an article before it came out.
Of something I'm thinking about is a reminder of when the November
Cleanup.
cleanup is.
Okay.
Before you get it all filled up, I have a few things that need to go in there. So tree trimming, like we had discussed. We need to remind people about the numbers, housing numbers, because we've had people slow down. I don't think we've given out any recently. Update on the secret would probably be really helpful.
Okay. Are you gonna write that, or you want me to write it?
I can do that. Yeah.
You're gonna do all those?
The address numbers, we already have a
That's
flyer.
just a little.
We got a flyer we can throw in there. That's pretty easy. It's sitting on our counter. I mean, if we need to break that down, that's easy enough too.
We should probably break it down and put it, the ladies don't like to add pages. Hey, they're
We're paying them all this money.
Well, I don't think that flyer, that whole page, we need a whole page about the tree trimming from that flyer, but I think we need an article about it.
No, not the tree trimming, but the address numbers.
House numbers.
Still, we don't need a full page on it, so. Anybody else have ideas for the newsletter?
Holiday closing.
Yeah. Okay. All right, well, I'll see what I can think of.
See, Bruce?
Excuse me? Oh, okay. With that being said, if you have an idea, let me know. Darlene.
A week ago Monday, the K state students and professors were here all day. I think they had a good day. Next Wednesday and then also on Thursday, we'll have a video conference with them. And then also last week, Diane, Carla, myself participated in the first civics day for the junior and senior high school. And our topic was city elections.
You want to write an article about that for the newsletter?
Me?
Yeah.
Remember, I'm a editor rather than
Okay. It'd be nice to have a little something in there.
That would be.
Okay, and we should talk about November 6th is when the students come back? No, 5th, 6th.
6th.
November 6th. So we need to definitely get the word out on that. And
are we going to have a mixer for that night?
On the 6th.
On the 6th, yes.
On the 6th, so...
To get people here. But, we probably need to invite the entire Main Street email. Have Main Street send it out, say, because of that one urban design part, right? Okay. Anything else?
Well, one other thing. Jason, Diane, Carla, Bobby, myself just returned late afternoon from the Kansas League of Municipalities meetings. I thought they were very good meetings. And then we attended the awards luncheon, and our Kansas State Senator Elaine Bowers received the Intergovernmental Leadership Award. And then our employees that are listed for the years of service, 35 years of service, David Hammett. And David Bruna and Charles Swindeman, also 35 years as volunteer firemen. And 25 years, Charlie Ohm as volunteer fireman. 20 years, Todd Ackerman, police chief, Jamie Rose, and Michael Wetter, volunteer fireman and woman. And 10-year, Kyle Barkman, volunteer fireman. So I'll give you this and you can share it with
You give awards for those at the Christmas party?
We follow the awards list, yeah.
And so we can put that in the newsletter. Okay. Anything else?
No.
Okay, Bobby?
I had a very good seated conference with the Lieutenant Governor. You were there today, and he was a wonderful speaker. He had a lot of positive things to say. They're trying very hard to regain ground for Kansas. I'm not here nor there on the last administration. It is whatever, but what they're doing, they're very forward, they're very positive. They're working for us. I was very invigorated by listening to what they had to say. They're very interesting.
Rural prosperity, that's what it was pushing.
Yes.
Rural prosperity.
Real prosperity.
It was good.
That was, and all the conference was good. It was a really, really good conference. They had things going all the time, which was nice. They gave us time with vendors. They gave us time to mingle. They gave, but the classes that we went to basically were very, very good, and they were well scheduled. So yeah, it's if you guys have not gone, just for that experience. Because what it does, it puts your heart more into it, is the way I can put it. Once you get there and you meet these people and hear what they have to say and how passionate they are about what they're doing, you know, it gives you a foothold on, yeah, we're doing the right thing and we need to go forward.
And the networking opportunities with,
Yeah.
with
good.
other council people and
Yeah, that was good.
mayors was good.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, Miss Gina? Todd?
You know, I think we suffered a loss in losing curbside recycling in Marysville. But
Yes.
it was a real point of pride for me to be in Nemaha County during the day and kind of, we've got this, we're so forward over in Marysville and Marshall County. And now I feel like I think we're blessed to have the team we do manning our recycling on one Saturday a month for a limited time period. But that is not, I don't think it's enough. I think we're gonna lose ground as a progressive community unless we can have at least as good a recycling as, say, Washington County, who
Which is?
for 10, 12 years has had open 24-hour recycling. The argument has always been
Trash.
that, oh, people would trash here. Well, you know, they don't in Hanover or Haddam or Barnes or Lynn or Clifton or Washington or Morrowville or, I mean, seriously, if people aren't gonna do it there, I can't believe that we have a lesser population here that can't figure out how to sort it. I really can't. To me, it's like embarrassing. I mean this is no denigration of from whence I came, but I'm like, yeah, we're way ahead over here. We're better than Washington County. That sounds bad, but I think that's a really great thing that we've had, and I think we're gonna lose ground if we don't do something to support having it. I don't know, I don't think the county's gonna take charge of this, because I don't think they wanna provide it for the whole county like Washington County does. It's their noxious weed, basically, and solid waste disposal and recycling are all wrapped up into one. I think it's great. I think we should explore some way to provide that as a community. I think we can support it. If it becomes a huge trash problem, okay, I grant you that we can reevaluate. But I don't know what it would take, but I'd like to be part of exploring that as a long-term solution.
Yeah, why didn't you find
It's
out what
tough to
they
do
do with the recycling? Once they get it, why don't you find out what they do
The county hauls
with it?
it. I'm not sure where we collect, the city or entities within the city collect it, and the county hauls it.
They still
Where they
will?
call it, I do not know.
They will do that even if it's at a different location than being dropped off on
Yes.
that Saturday?
And
They would?
I'd like to think so. I don't know. I didn't want to speak for the city. I haven't approached the county. It's not my position to do that. I do know that it's the single stream, which is what we've been enjoying, has the problem. Single stream recycling is not profitable anymore. It's a money loser. However, sorted stream recycling is still modestly profitable with potential for being more greatly profitable in the future. Honestly, if it's break even, I still think it's a net good, a net positive.
It pains me to throw it away.
I right now am back to like I did 6-7 years ago. When I go visit my parents in Washington County, I take my Marshall County recycling to Washington County. I'd love to support here on Saturdays, but like a lot of people, it's tough to make a window of time or go wait in line and they don't take everything. It's great. I'm so glad we're blessed to have the people who run it, but I think we can do better and do more. I mean, I still think it's been supported while we had curbside. I think there's room for both. The more we recycle, the better, regardless.
I know, I started
How do we
putting
do
my,
that?
sorting them in my garage now. I was so spoiled, but I used to have the canister.
Yeah, I know.
And now I have to sort everything. I have these 3 bins in my garage.
I know, and it's amazing. Our family of 5 produces less than a trash can of trash every other week because of their
Because of
recycling.
Recycle it, yeah. So
We recycle more volume than we threw away. That's the goal, or compost it or whatever. I think it's great.
Well,
I just don't know how we can do it.
And the Saturday, once a month, they're now only doing it for 1 hour.
Yeah. It's tough. I tried to make it this Saturday and didn't, so.
It might be busier now because the
It
curbside.
was really busy. It was right at the same time Jackson had flag football, so.
It used to be lined up
It was,
to
there was a lot
20th
going
Street.
on.
And I go by, people have trashed the curb and it'll be a stack of cardboard boxes and I'm like, and that would have been in the recycling. And here it goes to the landfill, well, a landfill. So Yeah. Well,
You have an idea about that?
what can we do? How can we?
I've been brainstorming.
I mean,
Whether we take it, see if hauling it, basically, a thought process I've been having is we get 2 trailers and
rotate.
rotate. So we find someone who would take our recycling, preferably someone who has takes a vast amount of recycling from 1 through 6 on plastic and things like that. Batteries. Well, I don't know if anybody takes batteries anymore, but something, a variety of, and they would be willing, as long as we had it sorted, to take our trailer and dump it into their own stuff.
Any even step above that would be if they took glass, because glass is sometimes harder.
Yes. Yes. So if we were to get 2 trailers and basically design it like the county has it, and where you could walk up, dump what you need, or put the glass into a receptacle through a cutout in the trailer, into each one where it's marked, and then somebody comes in, picks up the trailer, takes it to our
The
destination.
county doesn't have it out there anymore, do they? Out west of town?
They do, but it's cardboard and paper.
Only cardboard.
No metal, no plastics.
So we would take our full trailer, drop it off at the collection point, pick up an empty trailer and put it back.
It might be worth, I'm not exactly sure where Washington County goes with theirs, but they rotate theirs.
I think they bale it. They're just south of, just on the south edge of Washington, because I stop over there and they have stuff all in bales there. So you might check with them. I can check. I go over there. I'll be going over there this week, and I can ask them if they would take our stuff over there, or I know.
But do they take
we
glass?
just took our
Do they
trailer
take-
over.
Yeah. Do they take glass?
Develop a relationship.
I don't know.
They don't currently. They used to.
I don't know.
Now
That's
glass.
the issue.
It's Manhattan or Lincoln or.
Well, if we get rid of
Take mine
everything
to
but glass,
Manhattan.
we're not any
But
worse
they-
off than we were
Then
with
I have
temps.
one more. Can we put recycling bins downtown, especially for like the car show and all those things? That
Well, I've always talked about that.
that would be amazing.
It doesn't work because they don't care if it's a trash receptacle or not. They will throw their trash in there, and I've lobbied for it.
Yeah, I don't know, a little bit of that too is I think it's a bit of an appearance.
Education.
I don't want to, I don't want to call it, community theater because it has different connotations.
Right.
But if you go somewhere and they've got a recycling bin next to trash, they're thinking about that.
Oh, well, that's how it is.
I think we've made a lot of ground. I think it's been great to have it, and I already miss it.
Right.
And so I'd like to see us do something that would, for very minimal run around and expense, be able to have that as part of our community.
Because
Okay.
I walked
We'll
up
look
to
into that.
something that was recycled. I
We always took ours
throw
over
it
here.
into
We
the
always
recycle.
took ours over to Hanover, because that's where our son lived. And then we started dropping it out here when they had it. But I know they have great big bales of stuff, and they bale it, and it's there on the south edge of Washington, so.
So Austin's all over this. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay.
Diane?
I was gonna say something, I forgot what, he got started on that, and I forgot what it was, so.
Pulled you right off topic.
And I guess, I enjoyed the conference too. It was a very good conference, and I enjoyed it, so.
We'll talk about it more next meeting.
Yeah.
Bring some ideas that we can investigate.
Yeah, we'll
Other
type
than
up
the
something.
foam and the CIPP.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Nope, I have nothing.
Jason?
So I had a good time at the meeting too. Everybody was fighting, I think, over trying to recruit that officer for the color guard.
The singer?
Did an amazing version of the Star Spangled Banner. And otherwise, the common themes were the census, everybody getting geared up for the census. I didn't realize it was a stat. I think it was $2,000 per person per year that the state loses for every person
Yeah,
that is not
she has some
audited.
real good stats on that.
Yep.
Real good stats.
Yeah, it's a lot of money for every person that doesn't get counted in Kansas.
And they're not going to be sending out the paper ones. They're going to be trying 4 to 5 different ways to get a hold of every individual, and then they'll send out the paper ones. But what they're going to do is, and as a city, we need to start educating. We need to get the materials, start educating our people on the different ways, because getting online, and It's just, as time goes on, it's not gonna be paper, it's not gonna be people coming to the door like it used to be, unless there's a have to.
Last resort, yeah.
Yeah, so, there we are.
Just that, and, what was the other thought? Just that the one meeting I went to, the Kansas Department of Commerce is looking to gear up in a large way. There were a lot of cuts under the last administration,
Yeah.
and they're really looking at, they're getting back into the Marysville Main Street and doing a lot of work as far as hiring more people and trying to expand markets for Kansas and recruit businesses to Kansas, and trying to get aggressive with that. So,
Yeah, they're opening the doors for a lot of things,
Yep.
so. Yep.
All right, great conference, good attendance, okay. Notice to adjourn,
Move to adjourn?
is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?